Started. If everybody would take your seats, please. I'll call this meeting in the Red Oak Independent School District to order at 7 p.m. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that the meeting has been duly called, and that notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with the chapter Texas Opens Meeting Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. All board members are present with the exception of Mr. Sebring. Mr. Knight, would you lead us in invocation, please?
Let's bow. Father, we come before you tonight just to say thank you. Thank you for allowing us to gather here like this, Father, to talk about your community, Father. Father, the understanding of, Father, what this is about. Father, have an understanding that we can talk about space for our children. Father, that they can have that learning experience instead of a crowd. Father, that they can use that experience, Father, as they grow, Father, that when they become adults, they can make decisions and right choices, Father, to move forward in life. Father, thank you for being with us tonight, watching over us and guarding us. Father, we just ask that we make the best decisions possible, and we ask for your help in that. And thank you for all things. Lord Jesus, amen.
Amen. Ms. Knight, would you lead us in the pledges?
We stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, we appreciate everybody coming out tonight. You know, we're here to not rehash everything about the bond. It's really to garnish input on whether we should call the bond for this May, and to help answer any questions or clarify anything that somebody may have. There will be an open mic during the session after the superintendent speaks. It is open to anybody who would like to come down to speak. You don't have to sign up for anything. Again, we appreciate you being here, and I'll turn it over to the superintendent.
Okay, I'm going to kind of quickly go through these slides because this will be posted as well so that you'll be able to see it. But we had a lot of different questions and input over the last few weeks, and so I've tried to put some of that in this presentation to possibly answer some questions. So we'll get started. This covers the projections to 2026 based on our demographic review, but we're going to focus on the middle school because that's basically what the bond presentation is the middle school. So if you look in the middle, you can see the projected numbers 2026 are 1,688, and the current capacity of the middle school is 1,034, making it 163% capacity. If you'll look at the current, we currently have 1,550 students, and again, with that 1,034 capacity, that would be right at 150% capacity currently. Right now, people ask, what are you doing? We have taken the CTE building, what we refer to as the CTE building behind the middle school, and we're utilizing that as classrooms for our middle school students. We have moved those CTE courses over to TSTC because they have leased us some space. So we're temporarily using that TSTC area for those CTE classes. We also added 3 double portables at the middle school that has supplied us with 6 classrooms. The thing that I want to make sure that you understand is even though that has actually helped with the classroom size issue, and space for the classrooms, it has not addressed the issue as far as the same number of students utilizing the same cafeteria, same gymnasium, same hallways, and all of those spaces band hall. So that is still as crowded as it was before the portables came into play. With a large middle school, you do have different issues that occur. That's very well known. If you have smaller schools, you're going to have more extracurricular activities, more opportunities for kids Whereas we have one group that plays basketball and one that plays football, and we have one dance team, and we have one choir. We have one student who's top student, one group of 10 who are top 10. If you split those students off into smaller groups, you just double the number of students with those opportunities. More opportunities means better grades, less discipline, attendance is better, and they get that feel of a family atmosphere. This is just the bonds, the district bonds. If you will notice, the last bond passed was in 2007. That was for the new high school, and that was for the replacing the shields, middle school renovations, district upgrades, and security. A failed bond in 2017. If you'll notice, that also was for a new middle school. Failed bond in 2022 of May, new middle school. And the failed bond in November of 2022 was middle school only. So why was it middle school only? After the failed bond in May of 2022, we did what we called a listening tour. We had a lot of people that contacted us, came in. Sorry about that, I got really loud. Came in and we said, what is it that would have helped you to support the bond? So the three main things we were told was prioritize. You had way too much on that bond in May. We want it to be for a middle school only, which is what we did. We want no tax rate increase, which we did. We stayed within our taxing capacity. And show us the project, which we did. We worked with Corrigan and got community input, and we actually did a preliminary design that was completed with Corrigan. So options. People have said, what are our other options? So here's some of the options. I know if you listen to the board meeting, you've already heard this, if you listen to the prior one, but some of the possible options that we can look at is I did contact DeSoto superintendent. I'm going to be contacting again, and asked if we could lease DeSoto East, and that way we could bus our kids over there. We could possibly bus all sixth graders, or we could even look at that being a second middle school that we could be leasing. Again, we'll have additional bus routes, and students would be going to that school, still Red Oak ISD students, but a DeSoto facility. We could add more portables. We did add 3 at the middle school last year. They're approximately $150,000 each for 2 classrooms. That does not, again, address the overcrowding in the gymnasium and in the cafeteria, in the band hall, and in the hallways. Dismissal, getting into the school, all of that. Safety concerns with multiple buildings, with those students with preteens. We have what we used to call the 6th grade center. Now it's a West Campus. We use the regular middle school campus. We use the CTE building, and we use the portables. So those students are going to different buildings. And the spending of that M&O, because if you buy portables, that doesn't come out of your INS funding. That comes out of that pocket of money called M&O. And so that takes away from your maintenance and operations. And maintenance and operations is what we pay staff out of, what we buy curriculum out of, what we do our extracurricular activities out of. It's everything that we do to actually run the school district. So that's where that money would have to come from. Okay, another option that was thrown out there was to relocate to the former Shields. And if we did that, we would have to look for a lease location for Little Hawks. Again, possibly create a 6th grade center there. If we created that 6th grade center, it would create more bus routes for one thing, but we would still need anywhere from $35 to $40 million in order to renovate, because again, you're gonna have to have a cafeteria, a gym, storm shelter. Everything has to be brought up to code. And that to me would not be a very good thing to ask for a bond for a Band-Aid. The facility is nearly 45 years old. Option 2 would be to build this was also thrown out, just to build a 6th grade center on the land that we have purchased out on Westmoreland. That would be like a phase 1. We would only do the 6th grade hallways. But remember, if we did a phase 1, you still have to build the other portions of the building. You'd still need your cafeteria, your gym, your library, your storm shelter. And so you're still looking at about 75% of the total cost, which would, again, be a lot of money for a Band-Aid, and it would long-term, it'd be a greater cost to build, and additional bus routes as well. And if you have questions about this, once we hand the mic over, we'll go back and address them too. Option 3 is from the interest in sinking, the INS funds. We could pass a bond in order to build that second middle school, 1,200 student capacity. The original bond, we had 1,000, but we were asked to make it larger, and so we went to 1,200 for grades 6 to 8, not to exceed $97.5 million. Yes, that increased from the last bond because of the escalation in prices. That's projected prices. I've said this over and over again. If something happens and we're able to build it for $80 million, hallelujah, and we'll only sell bonds for $80 million. But that is it will not exceed the amount of 97.5. That includes all design, infrastructure, construction, furniture, technology, inflation cost, turns our empty field into a fully functional school. Quick look at it. That's the design that we own. Again, 1,200 student capacity, core classrooms, science labs, fine arts, band hall, dance studio, choir, special education classrooms, pull out for intervention, computer labs, restrooms, locker rooms, and gymnasium space. Not a Taj Mahal, a school. Cafetorium with performance platform, storm shelter with approved materials to meet the required building codes, main entrance office and lobby, offices for your principal, AP, counselor, nurse, and staff break rooms and work areas, custodial closets, and maintenance space. As you can see from that list, it's basically a school. Outdoor learning, that was one of the things that the community input. They wanted outdoor learning, and so there will be spaces for outdoor learning. It does not add to the cost of building the actual building because it's not square footage, it's actually outdoor area. Plus an athletic field, including a football field with a track, bleachers, and tennis courts. Not a stadium, but actually a field with bleachers for spectators. It will not be another Goodloe Stadium. Parking for staff and guests, drop-off, pickup, and bus access approximately for 300 cars and 16 buses queued on site. That was something that was expressed. We're really worried about 1,200 cars being down Westmoreland Road. I want you to think of this. If we did go capacity 10 years from now, 1,200 students, because think we're 1,550, even if we're 1,600 by the end of the year, approximately 800 at each campus. So we have a lot of room for growth, probably 10 years for growth at that. A lot of those students are going to be riding buses. So you're not going to have everyone dropping their child off. Access points for bus riders, car riders, and special needs, exterior lighting, green space with proper facility grading and drainage. Again, typical school system. Just to quickly put this up here again, because that was a point of contention in the last election. People asked why couldn't we make the entire thing a storm shelter so the community could come in. We're not doing the entire building a storm shelter. As required, we would do one that would be capacity of our students, because an entire one would be an additional 15 to 20 million. Plus, I want you to think about this. If we have our students locked down due to storms, that means our doors are locked. You couldn't get in anyway. So there would be no reason to make that a community shelter. The doors would be locked. Tax burden, that's something that I know we'll discuss here as well, but just to kind of put this out there again, yes, it's property taxes that will be paying for the debt. That's how school debt works. The INS is paid through property taxes. Similar to the fact if you purchase a home for $100,000 and you don't have the money to pay for that, you go to the bank, you borrow the money, and they stretch it out over a period of 30 years. School debt's basically the same way. Yes, you can pay it off early. Yes, you can refinance it with a lower interest rate, just like you do a mortgage. And our district is very good about doing those things in order to save the taxpayer money. We currently have $80 million in debt. Our debt service, INS tax rate, does pay for that. And if we did pass this bond, the INS tax rate that we have currently would continue to make payments for that and also for the new bond. So just kind of to clarify, I tried to do this with a group today. If you ask me, will I pay more taxes in order to pay off this debt? If we were going to be out of debt in 10 years, and I just put on a 30-year We're going to coincide 10 and 10. But yes, we extended that debt 20 more years. So yes, you can say you're going to pay more taxes towards the debt because your taxes are going to continue to pay for that debt. But the tax rate will not go up. So if you had, I'm just going to make it simple, if you had a 1% tax rate on $100,000, that tax rate, the 1%, is not going up. The same taxes are going to continue paying for it. If your appraisal goes up, school has nothing to do with that. So yes, your taxes that you pay would go up, but the tax rate remains the same. I know that's totally confusing, but we'll go into that a little more in detail in a little bit as well. We also have taken out maintenance and tax notes in order to for smaller projects and to buy buses and things like that as well. And I believe we bought some of the portables out of our maintenance and tax note. This has been one of the big contentions and concerns is the road. Will the road be widened and how's it going to be used? Again, there will not be 1,200 cars going down that road every day. A lot of those students will be on buses. We will queue them off the roadway. We did put money in our budget for the bond in order to improve the road frontage, to make the turn lanes, and to be able to do that. We are in talks as far as with Ovilla as well to do traffic studies and to look at is there an amount of money based on a traffic study that would need to contribute to help with some of that road. Local developers have already contributed to Ovilla towards that road as well. So we're in talks on that, but we are already going to improve the area in front of our road frontage. A lot of people said, well, why didn't you buy a different property? Well, we did have a unanimous vote from the board whenever we did purchase this property. It was a great size property. What we needed actually even a little larger, which is great. It gives us room to grow. It was an affordable price. If you wanted us to move locations, I'm telling you, it'd take a bond to purchase this size of property now if you wanted it in a different location on a major road frontage. So other open land is either not for sale, it's not easily accessible, or it is way out of Red Oak ISD's price range. Little Hawks Learning Center, that's been an area of concern as well. That is a paid daycare. It's not free to our employees. It's a paid daycare. We have about 130 employees who take advantage of that. It's just like any other benefit. Not everyone takes advantage of the benefits. We have some who have young children who don't take advantage of that they have other people to keep them. Same thing with insurance. Not everyone gets on the insurance. They may be on their spouses. Currently, we do have a grant that has offset the ISD cost of that. So at the conclusion of that grant, we're already looking at adjustments on different things so that we can close that cost gap. But it is paid. Again, I just talked about this. If we change sites, we'd need 35 to 40 acres for a middle school, 15 to 20 for elementary sites. We do currently have one middle school site and 2 elementary sites that we own. Little Hawk facility does not have Ovilla road access. I don't know if you know that or not, but when the state widened, we don't have front access to Little Hawks. You have to go down the side roads in order to get there, like you're going into Shields. Even if we were going to renovate that, we'd need a bond, 35 to 40 million. Old school, Live Oak keeps coming up. Not an option. We don't own that anymore. That belongs to the city of Red Oak, and very thankful that they have that facility for the entire community that they're actually working on continually trying to upgrade as well. We did receive land for 2 elementary schools plus funds in exchange during that exchange time. It is too close to the middle school. That was one of the things that came up. I was not here then, but when I was asking questions, it was too close to the current middle school to be considered that. It would have cost millions to upgrade it at the time to get it to code. And again, it's a win for our community. The city of Red Oak now has that. Serving our students. Now, I did not forget and leave off Pecan Hill. This is talking about the west side, so I didn't want you to think I left them off. But currently on the west side, we serve 235 students from Ovilla, and this is approximately. Oakleaf, 195, Glen Heights, 1,465, plus west of 35, around 800 Red Oak students, for a total of 2,700 students that are served on the west side of 35. So as you can see, that middle school is definitely needed on the west side. We currently have 2 elementaries on that side. So what's the timeline? The board has to call for the election by February 17th. That's why we're here tonight. The board asked for us to get that information together. ISD does own the schematic design from the fall of 2022. If the bond election passes, that's what you're looking at as next steps. The construction management firm, final design, selling the bonds, beginning construction, completing construction, and if you'll notice on F at the very bottom, this is the last opportunity for a bond that we could open the school in August of 2025. If we delay any longer than this bond, we are going to throw it out to 2026. Again, the process. This is interesting. Mr. Frills gathered some information for us. Red Oak Middle School is the 12th largest middle school in the state of Texas. 7 of the ones that are above us are already building additional schools. Once their construction is done, Red Oak ISD will be the largest multi-building middle school in the state of Texas. We are constantly saying Red Oak and Red Oak ISD are a family atmosphere. How are we going to build relationships in that? How are we going to sell that family atmosphere in that? Smaller schools, again, better grades, better attendance, fewer discipline. Okay, next door neighbor people, you're always harping on discipline. Here's a way you can help. Fewer discipline issues, more opportunities for student development. We were asked to do a survey because, as you can see, there's very few of you here tonight. I wish we were busting at the seams here, but we're not. But we were asked to do a survey because there were many people who were going to go online and watch this streaming, but could not be here, that wanted to voice their opinion. So we put the survey out. Very simple. Yes, call for the bond. No, don't call for the bond. And where do you fall in parent, student, employee, alumni, combination, community member? So we had 747 responses. 62.5% are parents. You can see the 17.4 is employees, and then the smaller groups as you go down. Some are parent and employees. Of those, 91.2% surveyed said yes, call for the bond. 8.8 said don't call for the bond. So what's our next steps? Determine our course of action. You've seen the options that we've laid out. I would love it if someone came to me and dropped $97.5 million in my lap. I'd run it through the Education Foundation if we need to stay legal, however we could do it. I would love it if any of you out there could do a fundraiser and raise that amount of money for me. That would be phenomenal. I'll take that as well. But that's just not going to happen. You've asked, can you save the money? In the way our INS and M&O is set up, you can't transfer money from one to the other. So you've got your debt service and you've got your maintenance and operations. And no, we could never save the money to build that. We could never even save the money to renovate. So we have reviewed those other options. If we called for the bond election, 97.5 would be a not to exceed amount. Wow, that's it. That was a big old spiel. Okay, so now that that's done, just to kind of set a few ground rules, because we definitely want to keep this very, very civil, get the information that people want to really talk about. We're going to have 2 different microphones over here. We might have to snatch one if we have to answer from down here, but we ask that you please direct your questions either to the board or to Dr. Johnston's going to be up here, Mr. Frills is going to be up here, I'll be up here. If you have some questions you want to direct to us as well, please don't direct them at each other. We're all here for the same purpose. We're all here to voice our opinion. We have to be respectful of that. We're never, ever, ever, so put that in your head, never, ever, ever, ever are we all going to agree. And I get that. I just ask you to focus on the end goal that's in your mind. If the end goal is in your mind that no taxes period. If the end goal in your mind is I'm going to do what's best for these kids regardless, if you're sitting on the fence, whichever, just direct your questions and input to the board and to the district and not to each other in the audience. So we're about to open it up. Come on up. Who has questions, concerns, wants to talk about something? We have 2 mics, so you can go to whichever one's closest. This is not limited to 2 minutes.
It's 2 minutes.
So that 1,600 student count, does that include what we had just found out about the potential mud? May I share that? So, not within the city limits of any of our cities around here. There's a developer that's wanting to put 1,200 homes on 125 acres. And there's not much any city would be able to do. That's 4,000 square foot or 5,000 square foot lots. It's supposed to be small homes, which might be kids. We don't know. We haven't seen it. So that 1,600 is going to be
Without that.
higher before that time frame.
Those numbers were actually too before some of the apartment complexes have gone up as well. We didn't go over, I'm sorry, November 21. So anything projected after November 21, that's not even in those numbers. That's not even in those numbers. Next. Did the board have a response? Any questions for Mr. Stanfield? No. Okay. Come on up.
Thank you.
Dear School Board, I am Daniela Martinez and I'm a 4th grader at Woodin Elementary. And I want the bond for the new middle school school to pass. The reason I want the new middle school bond to pass is because we only have one middle school in the entire city of Red Oak. My sisters have finished middle school and told me and my family about the horrors of middle school halls. The middle school hallways made my sisters feel compact in the halls, and I do not want 5th graders now to experience that next year. And in 2 years, I don't want to have to experience the middle school halls and overcrowding too. So for all the citizens of Red Oak, Texas, I hope you vote yes for the new middle school bond. Thank you for your time and consideration, School Board.
Yes, I'm Sheila Domstead, and I have just a few questions. The district promotes a no tax rate increase, and is that for the life of the bond? I mean, can you guarantee that there will be no tax rate increase?
No, ma'am. I cannot guarantee for the life of the bond that there would not. I probably will be out in some cemetery in 30 years, so I cannot guarantee that to you at all.
Okay, so when you say there's no tax rate increase, how long are we looking?
We are looking projected forward. Dr. Johnston, do you want to answer that?
I mean, based on the current presumptions that we have as far as what property values may increase and a 30-year on the bonds, we can project no tax increase with that. But again, these are all projections. We don't know what the future may hold. But our goal right now is to issue the bonds without a tax increase for the life of the bonds. That is the goal and the plan. We want to do that to show the community that we said we could do that. We want to try to do that for the community.
Okay, but over the life of the bond, the tax rate will increase.
It may or may, we don't know. I mean,
okay.
the way our current projections say it will not. But again, over 30 years, things can happen. We hope they do not happen to impact that. But under the current scenario, which basically is after 3 or 4 years, property values don't increase, then we can do that as we are.
Okay, thank you. And I have some more questions. The Texas Permanent School Fund program is low on funds. Are we sure we can get a bond guarantee from them?
No, we're not. I mean, there are districts, as you may have read, districts in the state that haven't gotten that. What that does is if you're a school district that doesn't have a very good bond rating, it helps guarantee that you get a higher bond rating. Our bond rating is pretty high. We're the third highest from the Moody's, and checking with our financial advisor, the impact that we would have based on what they saw in the November is only about a 0.15 difference in interest rate, which won't impact our interest rate or our interest rates moving forward very much. So we are in a good financial position, so it won't negatively impact us like it has other districts.
And for clarification, if you vote for a new bond, will you include in your promotional material, this is a tax increase?
Right now, under the current law, the state is requiring us to say that. And mainly that is because they don't want to be held accountable if something down the road happens. But we can say in our publication that our goal is not to increase the tax rate for the life of the bonds.
I know, but I'm asking, would you include the verbiage, this is a tax increase?
We have to, right now, unless the legislature does something between now and May, which more than likely they won't, we're legally required to put that in there.
I think what you're saying is on anything we hand out to the public. Is that what you're saying?
I know you say there's no tax rate increase.
I will tell you, I can't control what PACs hand out, just like I can't control that they said we were building a stadium. I can't control that, so I can't guarantee that. But on our publications, we can definitely look at it. If you'll go on, I actually did some videos that have been posted trying to explain that. Yes, just like I did here tonight. Yes, you're going to pay more taxes. You're going to pay more taxes because it's extending your debt. So we are going to be intentional in explaining that better. And we're probably not going to say, hey, this is going to make you pay more taxes. That would kind of, because we don't know that. But we're going to be more intentional about explaining exactly what I explained a while ago.
Well, there's a misconception. A lot of people believe that if you say there's no tax rate increase,
they think no tax increase.
That equals to no tax increase.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're certainly welcome. I think that's what you were asking, though, correct? Okay.
Hi, my name is Kim Sturman. I had a couple of questions on the information you put up there on the,
Yes,
on the board. One was the current junior high school, middle school. You said it was only 1,000 something.
1,550.
No, for the amount of seats. And you said it's
1,034.
Okay, but your information from last year when I was following y'all on all this, you had retrofitted that building to be like 1,200. That's what you were saying, it was 1,200. So how come that number is stayed at 1,034 when the school has already been retrofitted? And this was prior to the portables being put in at 1,200. Because I talked to Ms. Trimble last year about this, and that's a big bunch of confusion right there.
Okay. We did not include portables. Like I said, we have our students in our buildings. All 1,550 of them are in the buildings. But the actual middle school, the capacity when we went back and looked is for 1,034 students. That's not counting your portables. I'm not talking about your portables.
But that was the original number, and it was redone to stretch that number up to 1,200. That's what your information that you gave us last summer was.
Yeah, that's not the original. This is the middle school building. We're not talking back at the CTE. Okay. And we're not like I was saying, it's additional buildings that we're using. We're doing the CTE building, we're doing the portables, we're doing the West Campus, but the middle school building
Okay.
is functionally capacity of 1,034. So your hallways, your cafeteria, your gymnasium, the functional capacity of the middle school is 1,034. That is confusing. That is very confusing.
That is confusing because it makes
Yeah.
it look more dire than it actually is.
Well, that is the actual functional capacity. Like I said, we're putting 1,550 kids in a cafetorium
Gotcha, okay.
that is
And then we
equipped
have,
for the 1,034.
we have the 3 portables, and those are the DAEPs in there now?
Yes, we actually had DAEP in the CTE building, so we took those classrooms and turned those into middle school classrooms and moved the DAEP out into the portables.
And I understand that the DAEP, or those portables, don't have bathrooms,
That is correct. They're dry.
so those kids have to go into the main,
Wait, do we have wet? You have wet ones? All 3? Oh, all 3 of those are
Oh,
wet. It's the dry
okay.
ones at the elementary
all right,
schools.
because that was a great concern I had. And then the other question was on the site plan. Can we just look at that slide
Sure.
real quick?
You got you.
Yeah. So where's Westmoreland Road?
Yes. See where the bus is?
Right here, okay, that's what I was
See the
concerned.
bus?
And so you've got all that land behind the football field. How are you going to get to that if you need it later?
If we need it, we can create roadways on our own property, but at this point, we have no plan for that additional property at this point.
That's just one concern I've had about this site plan since I first saw it, that there's limited parking. If there's facilities, activities going on at that football field, where are the people going to park? And that if it was oriented at a different direction, perhaps more utilization of the land in the back could be used, because that's almost landlocking the land in the back.
Yeah, we could create further, roadways if we needed those in the future.
Okay.
We do have, it doesn't look like it, but it is a lot of parking space there. And
Okay.
someone asked that question, well, what if all 1,200 kids are going to come to the football game? We don't have all 1,200 kids come to a varsity football game, so that, that's not actually going to be as crowded as people think it is. But yes, there's I can't remember the amount of parking spaces. Do you remember?
I just want to make sure that I have the correct information so I can make the most informed
Right.
decision here.
Approximately
because-
300 parking spaces.
Got it.
That's why I
Okay.
have brains over there, sitting over there too.
All right. I guess my final question here is, how many students do we have in Red Oak ISD currently today?
6,520, 550, 6,550.
6,550? Okay, because when I was looking on the website, it said 6,000.
You're probably looking at the taper report, and those are behind. That's what we publish out on the website. We're required to
Oh,
publish
okay.
those,
Okay.
and those are behind that the state releases.
So last year, at the end of last year, we had 6,370, and so we just have about 100 and some,
200, right at 200 growth, and that what we talked about in
about
cabinet today,
180,
200.
180 more students
Right.
across the board.
Yes,
All right, good to know. Thank you.
you're certainly welcome. Go ahead.
Believe me, I probably could be heard without the mic. My name is Jimmy Lamb. My wife and I have had the privilege of seeing 3 children, 2 grandchildren graduate from Red Oak, and now we have great-grandchildren attending Red Oak schools. We've always been proud of what our schools represent. And to our superintendent and her staff, and to all the teachers, maintenance workers, and custodial workers, we want to say thank you for the investment that you put into our kids over the years, and to the school board. My question tonight to those that are here is, if not now, when? We're not going to stop the growth. The mayor talked about a little section. You can't hardly get up and down Ovilla Road anymore for all the delivery trucks, the concrete trucks, and all of those other vehicles associated with all the building that's going around here. Had we have done this 2 years ago, we would have saved millions of dollars. Guess what? 2 years from now, it's going to be millions of dollars more than what it is tonight. If you don't do anything, you'll end up one of those troubled school districts that the state comes in and takes over, and then they'll raise your tax rates. It won't be up to the school board, they'll do it. So we need to get on board. I've followed this since the very first bond that come up in this series. I've seen some amazing construction experts come to the microphone. I've seen some amazing lawyers without law degrees come to the microphone, and they're real good at micromanaging our superintendent and the school board. I'm none of those things, and I don't think our school board is perfect, but I think they're doing the best they can with the resources that are given. Most of the years that we've been here, I've heard a continuing theme that crops up from time to time, whether it's regard to city utilities or access, whether it's regarding to sporting venues. When our grandkids were playing ball, people was always saying, well, why can't we have a ball field like so-and-so has? Because you won't pay for it. It's simple. What you get out of our schools is going to be determined by what you put into it. And unfortunately, that includes your money too. I'm not an advocate for higher taxes. I'm one of those things called a conservative Republican. But I also believe in the value of our children and what they are our future. And I'll leave with one parting note. School board, do your best. But I want to say this because I was greatly troubled the last time a vote was taken when we had one of our school board members that sat there and voted for presenting the bond and then went out and campaigned against it. If you're for it, vote for it. If you're not, vote against it.
I'm real bashful in front of a microphone, so you just have to bear with me. I'm Jonathan Burt. I am a local real estate agent. I opened a donut shop in Red Oak in 2006, and I just sold it just a few years ago. I had 2 of them, so I know a lot of kids that come through here. Sorry. But, moved into real estate. I know a lot of the kids that came through here. My kids had 4 kids that came through Red Oak and graduated from Red Oak. Being in the real estate business, I get to hear a lot of things about what's going on in the area. Now, one of the things I want to say to these ladies that spoke up, which I appreciate, was I hear total transparency. Don't BS me on this bond. Give me total transparency. If I'm going to pay more taxes, just tell me. We can't guarantee that, but I think if we're going to go after somebody on taxes, let's go after the county commissioners because they're the ones who do all that stuff. Go after Todd Little. Let me call him out. He lives in my neighborhood. So call him out on the taxes. Let's make them be more frugal with our money if we want to hold somebody accountable. Let's not take it out on the kids. We've got 6 days left, you guys. If you want to see a challenge, I challenge you to go to Red Oak Middle School tomorrow, turn in your license, get a badge, and walk those halls between classes. I go eat lunch with my wife every week, every Thursday, faithfully, and it's a stampede getting through those halls. It really is. I can imagine the groping that's going on. I hear the language going on. I hear some of the conversations that's going on. If we're going to rubber meet the road here, let's go. And that's really what happens when you walk those halls. It is extremely crowded. We have an overwhelmed principal staff. We have an overwhelmed faculty staff. Discipline issues that cannot be dealt with, such as hoodies. And I know that dress code is not, I'm going to take a few minutes. So people say that hoodies aren't that big a deal. that's a small issue. You shouldn't get on to people about hoodies. Right, until somebody gets shot. Because a teacher didn't have the time to check a kid's hoodie because they're too busy dealing with the other students that they're overwhelmed by. And then a kid walks in and shoots somebody because they had a hoodie that they could put a weapon in. And those are the type of things that we need to consider when we're considering expanding a school. We're giving our faculty and staff the ability to handle the students that are in front of them. And when they're overwhelmed like that, they're not able to do their job to a sufficient fashion. And we're handicapping them by not providing the funds for them to be able to do what they need to get done. Now, on the realtor side of things, I held an open house at 701 Ovilla Oaks. I don't know if that's a nice neighborhood. If y'all know that it's in a very nice neighborhood. It was a 4,000 square foot house, and a family came through from Red Oak Middle School. She said, "Oh, your wife teaches my son." I said, "Oh, yeah?" And so she told me her name, and I don't have permission to use it, so I'm not going to. And I said, "So are you about to list your home?" She said, "Yeah." "Well, so congratulations, you got a realtor." So anyway, nobody laughed. So I said, "Oh," so we talked about their house. I said, "Well, let me ask you this. What's your motivation? Why are you leaving?" She goes, "Oh, they voted down the bond." She literally told me at that moment, they voted the bond down. They don't care about their school district. I'm pulling my kids. We're getting out. I said, "Where are you going?" She said, "Waxahachie or Midlothian." I said, "Oh, wow. Midlothian's got the highest taxes in the whole school district. So you're going to leave here because somebody didn't want to pay higher taxes and move to a district that's got the highest taxes in our county." And she goes, "Yeah, but you look at their schools." And so the other day, we do a thing at our local church called Re-Engage. It's a marriage facilitation class. And one of the girls there was like, "Hey," she knows I'm a realtor, and she had her house up for sale. I said, "Hey, did you find a house?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, I'm so excited. Where did you move to?" She said, "Midlothian." I said, "Midlothian?" I said, "That's great. It's the highest taxes in the district." She goes, "Yeah, but their schools. Their schools are second to none." She said, "I want my kids in their school district, so I'll pay the taxes." And that's two people, no solicitation. Nobody was talking about a bond package. I'm just challenging us as Red Oak to, let's step up and it's not a tax, it's an investment. We're not paying a tax, you guys. We're paying an investment into the future. I get the privilege of calling the football games and watching these kids. We had seven scholarship athletes, last Thursday? 8 on Friday that signed to D1 schools. And you guys, we can't keep that up if we don't have the facilities to be able to help them get there. And anyway, I appreciate y'all's time. I know I'm kind of long-winded, but touchdown Hawks!
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Shelley Brown. It's hard to follow the two of them, so you'll just have to bear with me. For context, I'm a Red Oak graduate, grew up here. I moved back here after my husband got out of the military, simply for the schools, exactly what he was saying. And we bought a house here. I'm a homeowner as well, pay the taxes just like everyone else. However, I was very disappointed that the bonds did not go through. Started second guessing, is this the right place for us? The question I have is, what are we doing to partner with this city to really push this across the community? I recognize that we are doing that you guys are doing everything you can within the district and outreach, but I really at this point think that it needs to be the city and the district together pushing for that. Thank you all. The same thing the gentleman was just talking about. I appreciate everything that you guys are doing, especially you, Ms. Sanford. I was disappointed the last board meeting as well, that we do have individuals on the board that don't support the bond. I do want to encourage anyone who does not support the best interest of our students to kindly step aside. When it comes to the district and the city, what are you guys doing to really push that as a whole and as a community.
Once I get to talk tonight, but if the board calls for the bond, then I don't get to talk anymore about opinion. I just get to give facts. Same scenario is true for our funds. So anything that we use with district funds can only be facts. It can't say, go vote yes, we need this. Hallways are crowded, it's a stampede. I mean, we can't say that on ours. However, there's always political action committees, PACs, that can be involved on both sides. You can have a no PAC and you can have a yes PAC. So they're the ones who actually can push forward with the vote yes, vote no, and do that. We do partner with the city. We actually had a meeting today with the city. We had a meeting with Ovilla by Zoom because of weather last week, but we are trying to partner to get everyone on board. One of the biggest challenges that I'm going to say, I'm only my 4th year in Red Oak, and it breaks my heart. I can only imagine what the people who grew up here feel with the non-support for the school district. So that is disheartening. So I'm sorry for that. I'm truly sorry for that. But I think one of the biggest things you have to do is you have to get rid of the noise. And that's what we're trying to do as well. We're trying to keep our focus on what is best for the kids. I can be let go by these wonderful people at any given moment. But I'm not going to back down on what I'm here for, and that's for the kids, period. That's what I'm here for. Guess who else is here for the kids? Our staff. So who else am I here for? My staff. I'm here for the community. I'm here for the parents. And I just can't back down from putting things out there for consideration for what is best for the kids. So I would challenge each of you, no matter which side of the platform you're on, if you're on this one or if you're on this one, become heavily involved with your PAC so that you can be organized, you can get the truth out. I encourage the PACs. I just told Kim, I believe was who asked me that, or was it Sheila? We're going to be definitely more transparent about what we put out so that we can explain the taxes. I encourage both sides to please quit clouding the issue with untrue noise. Because when you throw out comments like, must be a stadium they're going to build on the back 20 acres. Y'all, that's just this shy of a lie. Just that much. It didn't state it as factual, but it threw it out there, and guess what? It made all these people think, well, that dadgum superintendent, she's lying to me. She's going to get her a new Goodloe Stadium out there. Never one time discussed. This close to a lie. I'm just going to say it. I encourage you, whatever side you're on, please be truthful. Go forward with your facts, but just be truthful. I don't mind a battle, truth to truth. But if I come to the boxing ring and you come with a gun, that's not fair. And that seems to be where the community is right now. We have to focus on truth. I'm not saying we're going to all believe the same thing, but focus on the truth. That was a long answer for your short question. Sorry. Okay.
Okay. So first, I'd like to thank y'all for your efforts. I've lived here a long time. I moved here in 1998. We bought land because we liked the schools. Big surprise. That seems to be the theme. We knew that they had good schools, and obviously we want to keep them that way. I put 2 kids through school. My wife still teaches at the high school, and I can tell you that there's nothing more important than our kids' education. I've been baffled, and I'll give you a little bit of background, but I retired from the National Guard after 34 years as a Major General, and I'm also an attorney in my other job. And I've deployed to combat, I've managed large formations, done a lot of different things, and also understand a lot of the legal aspects. But this just baffles me. I mean, the idea is we just keep saying no, and we just keep jamming more kids in and going, well, hey, we don't need a bond, we're going to not have a bond. I don't understand. I don't understand how you can look some kid in the eye and say, hey, you got 20 people in the classroom. Next year you're going to have 23. The next year you're going to have 25. The next year, you're going to have 27. Guess what? This is going to be great, and think that we're doing a good job for our kids. And I know that most of the board and most of the community's for that. And so my question is, you know, y'all narrowed it down, we've done everything right, and it didn't pass. And so what do we have to do to change it? And specifically, I heard somebody say somebody on the board is against the bond. Have they presented an alternate plan that we've run by all the professionals that have said this is a viable course of action that will work? Or is it just people saying, hey, I don't want to do it, but they don't have a good idea? And so that, I guess my question is what can we do as the community to help educate people and convince people that, okay, there's a difference, and we understand you're going to continue to pay the same amount. Can anybody guarantee they're not going to raise taxes over 30 years? I wish they could. They'd run for, you know, office. I'd vote for them for president and everything else. That doesn't happen. You can only guarantee a certain amount of things, and everybody understands that. But why can't we figure out a way to tell people, look, this is really important. We're not asking for a bunch of stuff. We're asking for a focused item that we have to have. And even if we approve it right now, it isn't actually going to come in for 2 or 3 more years. And so I know I could tell that there's been a lot of work put in, and I appreciate everybody's work, and especially the superintendent. But, you know, I want to make sure that I'm doing and we're all doing whatever we can to get behind. And I hear people come up saying, oh, well, there's, you know, this number may be off by whatever. But nobody's arguing we're getting bigger, and nobody's arguing the school is staying the same size. So if you want to fight over, is it 50, is it 100, is it okay, and is it going to continue to grow? It's obviously going to continue to grow, and the building isn't going to magically get bigger. So we have a problem. Y'all have come up with a solution, and now how do we get the community to adopt it? And so I'd like to thank the people that are working hard for it, and the people that don't support it. I'd love to visit with you after and to have you explain to me how we're going to be better in 2025 by not voting yes for the bond. Is there anybody on the board that thinks that they'd like to explain to me how we're going to solve the problem without actually building something new?
The only way is people have to get out and vote.
And,
right. Look how many people are here. Right. How many people took the survey? Well, there's how many voters do we have in Ellis County for Red Oak ISD? 22,500. Yeah.
So how do we
22,500 people vote? Yes or no?
Yeah. And I guess my question is we know who voted last time. How do we get organized and get out and talk to those people, and how do we get new people out to vote? Because I agree. I think we've got a minority that's vocal, that's keeping us from having our schools in the place where we need to be. And I'm happy, and I'm volunteered to sign up and help fix that however I can.
I know somebody's out there taking names.
Okay, yeah, I'm in. So all in. But is there any board member up there that has an alternate plan that's been approved and staffed that is going to fix it? I haven't seen that.
There was an attempt to suggest an alternate plan in the last school board. It wasn't given any consideration. It hasn't been presented through the process because it's not given any consideration.
Okay, but I mean, is anybody given it a thumbs up or a thumbs down on whether it's possibly viable and worth spending?
Well, it was part of the $230 million bond. It was presented in the $230 million bond. So the school thought it was a good thing at that time.
As part of the whole package?
Uh-huh.
But not as part of this smaller package that they're trying to get passed?
No, it was a part, but it was something that they suggested to do to help the growth and potential. And so that was tried to be discussed again, and it was not considered. But
Okay.
It was presented by this school at one time.
If I'm correct, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're talking about the expansion of the elementaries. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we did present in the first bond package, we could expand Wooden and we could expand Eastridge by taking their current cafeteria and their current kitchen and turning that into how many classrooms? 8 classrooms on each campus, and then build a new cafeteria and kitchen that would also be a storm shelter. That was right at $14 million for each campus, so that would take $30 million in order, and that's back then, so it's going to be more. So would you vote for that $30 million bond?
That $30 million bond also included putting a driveway around that school,
Absolutely,
which would
you'd
be
have to.
wonderful to take the traffic off
Yes.
of those major roads.
Yes.
Yes, that would be very good.
Yeah, that's my
And-
question is there anything that that you would support in the bond to expand the capacity that's been staffed enough to actually have it? I mean, to me, that seems to be, if you're going to just say no, what's the yes? I mean, you
Well, the
agree there's
yes
more
is
kids, right?
We do something in a reasonable amount of money.
But that also doesn't address the middle school problem, because if we
Well,
took
we
our
talked
sixth
about
graders
how
and
taking the children in and putting them back in sixth grade back in elementary.
if we put the sixth graders back with the pre-K, kinder, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth, and sixth now on a campus, then the projections for 2026 showed we needed those classrooms. If you'll look up here, look at our projections. That's why that was on that bond. Look at our capacity. ROE, 78%. That's prior to those big apartments that y'all saw have gone up that are in the ROE area now as well. So that number was prior to that. So the reason we had those on there was to meet the demands of the growing elementary. So I would love to have that also on the bond for us to expand those, but we narrowed it to one thing, priority, middle
Well,
school.
on
So
these
those two things, that would once again be, we'd do a $30 million, $40 million bond, and it would be a Band-Aid for 2 years.
Well, and we keep being told we're not listening. We're not listening. Well, we after that first bond, we listened. We brought in members of the community, school board members, and so we went down. We went less money so that we could try to pass it. We were trying to do what they asked us to do. We had it for 1,000 kids, but a person wanted it 1,200, which raised it more money. So there's it's like, it's a roller coaster ride here of every time we fix something and think we're ready to go, boom, no, it's not going to go. Some are going to say, no, I don't care if it's $1. They're going to say no. But every time, and you've heard me say this over and over, and I'm like Miss Sanford, it's about our kids. If you wanted a new car, you would go buy it. You're going to pay tax on that car. I can guarantee everybody in this room, they don't drive a clunkered car. They drive a new car. If you want a new house, you're going to go buy a new house and you're going to finance it. Stop thinking about that. Think about if I had a kid in that 6th and 7th and 8th grade school, if it were me, my kids have grown, but if you think about your kid being in the middle of that crowded hall, don't think about the others. Think about if it were my kids, because most of you in this audience have had a kid or you have kids in a school now. You'll pay big bucks to go to a college. Some pay more bucks, and to me, I'm like, no, I'm not going to pay that big amount to just have that name. Same education, okay? I mean, some may be better. I'm not going to talk about A&M, John, but some are going to pay those monies, okay? So stop always, you're going to buy whatever you want, but it's about our kids, and our kids are the future no matter what. We've got the past, our future right now. Do we like what's being done in our world? It's going to get even worse because we're so negative. We don't want to do anything for these kids. We want to think about me. And I have to not think about me. I have to think about the kids in Red Oak ISD because like Brenda said, I graduated from here. I've been here. Yes, it's in that video that I said it, and I said it again. But by George, when my mom and dad moved me here, I thought they were moving me to Podunk City. I hated that drive from Camp Wisdom to Red Oak. It was pitiful. But when I got here, I learned that this was a community that I am proud of. And lately, I can't even be proud of it because of the people that knock it so bad. And I say, if you don't like it, get out of here.
Oh, thank you.
I would like to say one thing we talk about building buildings, and we do have to have buildings. But we also need to look at what's happening with our performance in our education.
I definitely want to address that. If you will notice, I said that if you have smaller classes and smaller campuses, if you will go look across I'm not even going to say Texas, you can look across the United States. It is the schools who are overcrowded. All the kids are all in portables. There's no school value. They're the lower performing school districts. That's a fact. You can go and look it up anywhere. Midlothian, where's our realtor? I mean, that's a fact. That's a fact. When you have value in education, y'all, when I was a kid, I didn't even know what a tax was. I didn't know what that was. Somebody a whole lot older than me paid for my school that I got an education in, public school that I got an education in, because my family was poor. There's no way they could have put me in private school. Somebody paid for that. Probably a lot of people, 50, 60, 70 years old, paid for that. And praise they did, because otherwise I wouldn't have had it. 5th grade year, and that was a long time ago, they built our first elementary school. You could use child labor then. We walked down the road and carried our own desk and moved in. So we moved into that school. That school's now an elementary, but they keep growing as well. But that community, I begged my daughter to come here. I'd love for her to teach here. But she's in a community that values their school district and values education. And it's hard to pull valuable people in if they don't see the value that's going on. Do we want higher ratings? Absolutely. Hey, I'm pretty proud of the B, to be honest. We went through COVID and we're still 86, I believe that's what we were. That's pretty good. That is pretty good. We have some of the hardest working teachers and administrators I've ever seen. I have ever seen. And you know what? They're amazing to me, how that even though it's crowded and even though they're beat down, and y'all, they are, because they don't feel valued. They come to work every single day and they put every bit of effort they have into educating those students. So I'm not sure, Ms. Story, what it is that you want us to do to help more with the accountability rating, but I'm telling you right now, our teachers do a good job. They do a good job.
Well, it's not talking about teachers. In 2018 and 19, we had the middle school with a passing rate of the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, all in the 90s percent, 99, 95, 97, 98. They were very, very high. In the 21, 22, we have, in the 6th grade, we have 86%. And we have 7th grade, we have 60%. It's been as high as the first 6 weeks, it was 75%. In 8th grade, we have as low as 48% and as high as 66%. As far as that was the middle school. That was the middle school in 2018-19 was in the 90s. It's now in the 8th grade, as low as 48. As far as the STAR performance, in 2021, and it did improve a little bit in 2022, all of our students had to master the grade level means that you can move to the next grade, with little additional help. This is STAR performance out of TEA. You can read it. All subjects, 17% master grade level. English learning and reading, 14% master. Now, there are 2 other designations, but this is reading them. It says that performance master grade level says that they can move to the next and succeed in the next best grade course with little or no academic intervention. So they learned their subject. In mathematics, we have 19% that master. In writing, we have 6% and 21. In 22, they've thrown out writing, and that's for everywhere. They just don't even include a grade on it, but it's 6%. In science, we have 18% that master, and in social studies, 32. That is straight out of the STAR performance ratings. We have 407 teachers. We have good teachers. We have 87 aides, and we have 17 instructional coaches. So we have staff that's working to teach. A lot of it is not the teacher always, in fact, very seldom, but we have some interesting curriculum. And the teachers don't get to choose all of that. But our
Okay, what is interesting curriculum?
Our passing level.
What's our interesting
went from
curriculum?
Pardon?
What's our interesting curriculum? Because that just threw a cloud over this audience, and they're like, what are they teaching our kids? So what's our interesting curriculum?
Well, you don't create your own curriculum, is what I'm saying.
No, we have to meet the TEKS. That's correct.
That's right. So I'm
Yes,
saying.
okay,
you
okay, I just
don't-
wanted to verify.
No,
That
no.
doesn't mean we're out
No,
there
no, I'm
teaching
saying
witchcraft
you
and
don't get
all of
to
this
create
stuff. We
your
don't
own
have interesting
curriculum.
curriculum. We teach the TEKS.
Yeah.
We teach the
But
TEKS.
we went from 90 in the 90s, high 90s, passing, down to as low as 48% in the 8th grade.
Okay, and let
There's
me
something
address
wrong.
that too.
Excuse,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let me address that too. I have a basket of apples over here, and everybody in the state was doing that at one point. And I have a basket of oranges over here. So I'm going to put the apple out and compare it to the orange. That's what she just did. That's not comparing side by side. If you take our scores and compare them with our region and with our state, then you're going to see that guess what we're all still recovering from? Can we say it together? The COVID slide. That's what we're all recovering from. So that's not a comparison. I invite you. Lynn Dockery, where are you? Stand up. She is in our curriculum department. I know she would welcome you to come sit down with her and let her explain that to you so that you can see an apple compared to an apple, not an apple compared to an orange. So I do invite you to do that because I don't want anyone leaving here thinking, number one, we're teaching strange curriculum because we're not. We're doing the TEKS. And number two, that our teachers are not teaching and getting our kids where they need to be because they are. When you compare us to other districts in the region and in the state, we're right up there too. So,
Well, Brenda, nobody said that we were teaching a strange curriculum.
What was the word you
Nobody
used?
said so.
What curriculum did you say? Interesting. Sorry, my
And that
mistake.
is,
Interesting
that
curriculum.
comes from
Interesting.
the TEKS. The TEKS are very interesting today. In
But
some
we are
ways.
required by law to
But
teach
you
them.
are not creating, and nobody said that. And to say we're comparing apples and oranges, we are the district we are. You know,
Yes,
it
and we
doesn't
always want to
matter
be
what
better.
Prosper is doing. It does matter, and they're having a lot of problems. It does matter what Red Oak is doing. We have plenty of good teachers here.
Yes, we have great teachers.
And
Ms.
so,
Sanford?
but we're going way down. So why?
Everywhere it is. It's the COVID slide.
Ms. Sanford, you might have said this because you were turned around. So
Sorry.
I'm not sure. But the figures that you were using, the one thing that kept sticking in my mind was it's before and after COVID.
Absolutely.
Didn't everybody?
Everyone.
I mean,
Yes.
Everybody that was affected by COVID did their.
They all came
Yeah,
down.
okay.
And
I-
we're
I-
on, I think
Like I say,
if
that's
you,
what I was just.
Yes.
Because all the dates that you were saying, Penny, sounded like, okay, before COVID, we were right up there,
Absolutely.
we were in our 90s, but I think every school district around, after COVID, they dropped. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
just a fact.
It is a
And it's
fact.
gonna take
Penny, have you
people are
taken
so sick of hearing, well, COVID, COVID this, COVID that. It's a fact.
Yeah.
It happened, and we're still recovering.
but we're moving up. We're moving up, and I want you to take that home with you. We're moving up. We're not even stagnant. We're definitely not going down. We're not even stagnant. We are moving up. And let me tell you what, if it takes us 4 years to get our kids there, they're worth our effort for 4 years. They're worth our effort for every moment we spend with them. So just take that. I encourage you, seriously, go to the curriculum department. They can show you, and they can show you that comparison. And you mentioned Prosper, and there's going to be other districts that are higher than us. Absolutely. Some of those districts have a lot more resources. Some of those districts have a lot lower class sizes. Some of those districts have a whole lot different demographics. Some of those districts don't have as many economically disadvantaged students. But for Red Oak, and you know what? I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it. That's all I care about right now is Red Oak. I don't care about the other districts. All I care about is Red Oak. For our kids, I'm saying this over and over, our kids are our kids are our kids are our kids. I don't care if they're Ovilla, Glen Heights, Pecan Hill, Oak Leaf, or Red Oak. I don't care if they're black, if they're green, if they're orange, if they're white, if they're yellow. I don't care if they're male or if they're female. Our kids are our kids are our kids, and we need to do what's right by our kids. So
why did you say, making that statement, and I said, this is Red Oak, and we
Yes,
need to look at
absolutely.
Red Oak. But a moment ago, you were saying that comparing us to the state and the
Yes.
district.
yeah, you're comparing us year to year. But that's
all of
not-
this is just Red Oak.
I know,
This is
but
not
you're comparing us year to year, and like Ms. Peterson said, that COVID slide happened in there. If you want to see statewide what the school districts did, they may have been a 90 and dropped to an 80. We might have been an 80 and dropped to a 70. Someone might have been a 70 and dropped to a 60, but you can see the percentage of drop across the state. So that's what I'm saying, comparing your apples to your apples.
And 21 and 22. So we had some increase
Yes.
in this. In all subjects, we went from 17% to 20%. In reading, from 14 to 21. In mathematics, we stayed the same, 19. Writing isn't graded. Science went from 18 to 19. Social studies went from 32 to 25.
Penny, have you taken the STAR test?
Pardon?
Have you ever taken the STAR test?
You know what?
Have you taken the STAR test? Yes or no? That's a simple.
Have
yes
you?
or- No, I haven't, and I don't want to, but I'm not comparing all of my kids to the STAR test.
These are the ratings that are put on every school.
If you care about the kids, we will do the bond and not and go to curriculum for that. And you were challenged to visit the junior high. Have you gone there yet?
You know, you don't need to say someone on the school board. You can just say Penny Story.
Okay, Penny Story, you
Yeah.
vote no, even though
That's
you
right.
voted yes to put it on. Have you visited the school that you were challenged to go visit?
And the change, yes, I've been in school, and the change
not
on
go
that
with me.
was when we were presented, we didn't know some things about it. And I would encourage everybody, and it's in legislation now, every school that's going to put out a bond, there is a principal. We're talking 97.5 now. But there is also a huge interest. I think the people need to know both numbers and know the total amount, and that's it. They should know the total amount. Instead of just knowing because they see 94, we did last time, 97 now, but that 94 was $169 million.
So why did you vote to put it on the ballot?
I voted before I knew all of that. I will not vote anymore. I will never vote. Let me go on
She will
record.
never vote
I will
yes for
never
a bond.
vote for a bond till I know what the total cost is. Okay.
You heard it.
So, yes, you heard it. Penny Story said she will not vote for a bond until we know what the total cost is.
Okay, and just one quick clarification too. I want to make sure the numbers that she's giving, that you understand. When she said that's masters, we have approaches, which is kind of what we call passing, and then we have meets, which is a higher level, and then you have masters. So I don't want you to think those numbers mean the kids did, all those other kids failed the STAR. They did not. There's bigger numbers in the approaches, and there's bigger numbers in the meets than there is in the masters. That's a given.
Well,
that's a given. So I'm not
excuse me.
saying disputing your numbers. I'm just
No,
saying
that,
I want
I
them to
said that's
understand.
masters.
Yes.
We have other grade levels. Meets means you can, it was 70%. You can get a 70 on your grades. They've lowered it to 66. So we have to, well, I'm reading out of TEACS. I'm reading
That's a
out of
slide scale.
TEA.
It's not actually a
So
grade.
you
It's a
can-
slide scale.
If TEA is incorrect, then you tell me who is correct, because this is where we go to TEA, and that is, so.
Okay,
So,
Penny-
though TEA is not correct.
Penny,
Okay.
we're here to discuss something. If
bond.
this is important, our curriculum is very important. But if you want, if not just you, anybody that wants to speak about curriculum, Ms.
No.
Sanford's already told.
It's about
the
the results.
Let me finish my sentence.
Okay.
It is
Bill, this question's.
We're here to talk about the bond, to get everyone that wants to speak's opinion. Do you want us to call the bond? Do you not want the bond called? We're not here to talk about curriculum and all that. These people came out to talk about one thing, not to throw our school district under the bus and say that we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, because
How
we
is
are.
reading a statistic throwing
Because
a
it
school
has
under the
nothing
bus?
to do with what this meeting is about.
Okay, so we need a building, okay. But the outcome.
Is this on? Okay, I'm sorry, a moment ago, I really thought this time right here was about just asking questions, and a big important question, something you showed on the screen that I thought was very interesting, and you said that our current bonds are at 80 million, and I found that fabulous because before the last election they were at about 125 million, so we've paid it down 45 million.
We did, no, it wasn't 120 million. I don't remember what it was, but we have been paying the bond. We pay the bonds down every year, and they're right now below $80 million is the
wow.
principal amount.
Because when you and I spoke about last August, they were still at 120, and then the M&O, is that what it is? That was at 5, so that was 125 million, the outstanding bonds, because we paid one off in August, and that's what.
Yes.
So when I'm making an informed decision, that when I find out the last bond, which was 94 million, and with the tax title license and interest and everything, it was going to be 169 million, because that information came from the school district too.
Yes.
So I can do the math, 125 plus 170, that's a lot. That's close to 300 million. And honestly, when we're talking about school districts here, we have around 6,000 students, where Midlothian has almost 10 and Waxahachie has almost 10, and they have twice the base from which to draw the funds from taxpayers. We have 28,000 residents. So when our bonds are going to be close to 300 million, and theirs are in the low 200 millions, it's just like people need to understand the burden that's going to be on us. Now, I'm not against schools. I'm not against kids, but I moved from Cedar Hill, where every year they had a new bond and a new building and the district got so bad all about new buildings that the education went down. I had to draw my last 2 of 5 kids out and put them in private school, because with all the buildings and all the bonds and all the tax increases, school district didn't get better, it got worse. So I don't want to see that happen to Red Oak. Call me Little House on the Prairie or whatever you want to call me, but I moved here because the schools are great. Now there is a fix, y'all want to call it a Band-Aid, but in the last year, in 2022, you said, let's build these cafeterias, and these are going to be good for growth for the schools, for the elementary schools. We could still do that today. That could probably get done in 6 months or less, I would hope. Okay, well, it should be able to get done a lot more quickly than building a whole new school. We're talking about 2 cafeterias and 2 properties. Building those, moving 6th grade to those, and if that doesn't work, that would at least be good for a while. Now, I don't know how many of y'all know this, but Google's moving to town. Google is a $600 million facility. They're breaking ground real soon. In about 2 years, they will have it done, and that's going to be over $7 million in taxes to this district. That is going to help relieve the pressure off the taxpayer, because when you're going to put 300 or close to 300 million on 28,000 people, your taxes are going to go up. And there's a lot of people here that have lived here a long time. So I'm not about a new school. But if we've already paid down our old debt, 40 million, then we can continue to do that, fix our 2 little elementary schools, take care of the overcrowding, because quite honestly, you guys, we're in the greatest recession in 40 years. Interest rates are out of sight. The political environment is crazy, and this is not the time to be building. I'm not saying never build. I'm not saying don't help the kids. But the reality, my children went to the ugliest shabbiest elementary school in Cedar Hill, and they got the best education there because it was what was going on inside the building, not what the building was. When they started building all these buildings, life didn't get better, it got a lot worse. So we have to really focus on the kids. I'm all about the kids, but I'm also about fiscal responsibility to each and every one of us and the children who live here. Because if parents get run out of their homes because of taxes, and that's what's happened in Cedar Hill, I left there because of it, you run out of, people leave, then guess what? What does that do for the children? You got to think about that. You have to be able to afford your taxes when things are getting hard, where people are having to decide if you pay your light bill or buy groceries. So I'm glad to hear we're down 40 million.
I mean, to answer your question, the number that was presented up there is just the principal, 80 million of principal. With the interest that we owe, it's back in that 115, maybe 120,000 range.
Okay.
So we didn't we didn't really drop it. We just presented the principal.
Okay, well, good to know, because say you have about $120 million in P&I on what's outstanding, and with this 97 million, you're going to, last time it was 94, and so the interest rates back then, which were lower then than they are now, that was at 170. You're looking close to $300 million for 28,000 people. I kind of wish we could wait till Google comes in.
But again,
How are you going to pay for your elementary expansions?
A small
We're
bond.
talking about a small bond. We're talking about 30 million or less, and that needs to happen anyway if y'all talking about all this projected growth. So it's not a Band-Aid. It'll just help relieve the problems. The focus could be on academics. We could get through this. Our economy, it will get better. Things will get better for Red Oak if the growth does happen. And by the way, people aren't buying homes like they were. The interest rates are skyrocketing, prices are going down. You just got to really take a look at the big picture. Big picture.
So if it was 30, 40 million, you'd vote for the bond?
I would absolutely vote for 30 million,
Did you vote for
35
that?
million.
Did you vote for that portion of it in the May 2022 election?
I did not. I didn't vote for $230 million.
You had a chance to vote for
No,
30, 40 million dollars.
it was $230 million.
It was
You
broken into
got to
groups.
pick and choose what you wanted to vote for. That's why we had them separated like that.
There was more than
It
just
wasn't all or
those
none.
two.
You had choices to make.
What was included with the two elementaries? There was not just two elementaries.
Okay, I don't
There were
really
other
recall,
things,
sir,
and it
to
was
answer
not
your
30
question
million
exactly.
For the total. So that is apples and oranges.
I mean, again, the point I make, I mean, there's two different concepts. There is taxes paid and then there's tax rate. Our goal is to not increase the tax rate. So if property values stayed the same year over year, that tax amount for the INS would not change. It may just extend it. Our current bonds are 15 years. So we would issue these bonds to maybe, our goal would hopefully not be the 30 years that we're allowed to, but maybe 20 to 25 years.
I
So we're
agree.
not extending the debt, hopefully not that much longer than the current 15 years that's out there. And the plan is to not increase the tax for the INS over that 15 plus 5 to 10 more years.
Well, I was here last summer with this board, talking to the board about please don't raise the tax rate, and you went to as high as you could without voter approval. Therefore, that's what this board has already proved to me that they will do. The only board in this Ellis County that didn't go to the highest level possible was our Ellis County Commissioners, and they stayed at the no new tax rate. And they gave the citizens of this county a break and kept it as low as possible. Why? Because they got a raise with the property values. I was up here begging y'all to have a heart and don't raise the rates as much as you could, but you did anyway.
As we talked about at that moment, again, I don't want to get off topic, but if our taxes go up, our state funding goes down. So they don't have state funding. they get everything off of taxes. So if our taxes do go up, which they have, our state funding goes down. So we did not change our funding at all. It just transferred from taxes. We increased taxes a little bit and lowered the state funding. So
Well, I understand the state have a glut of money, and at the in Austin back in January, they were talking about paying off all the school districts' M&Os already. So that is something to consider. That
that's the future. That's not now.
That's not now.
Yeah,
That may be
that's what they
something-
were talking about in Austin.
Yeah.
In January.
Okay, hi. My name is Gabriela Martinez. I am a current senior at Red Oak High School, and I serve as the student council president for our high school. Yes, ma'am. I'm here with multiple other leaders and students in our school, so I'm gonna let them introduce themselves as well.
I'm Alicia Cook. I'm also a senior, and I'm the National Honor Society president.
My name is Asalo. I am also a senior, and I'm the Student Council Vice President.
My name is Benedicto Sanchez, and I am a senior.
I think that the board should vote yes on the bond because I believe what other people have said about investing in education and that in the long run it'll all work out for the students and the future leaders of the world to solve the future economic problems that the country will face and that Red Oak will face. And so by investing now, we'll get a return on our investment in the future.
This question is for Penny, and I'll only bring this up because you brought it up. How do you expect to bring up these passing rates and STAR test rates if we don't invest in our education? And it just seems like you don't want to vote for anything at this point, and like there's no way we'll bring those up without investing in our schools.
I have made some other suggestions rather than these, and they were not considered. They were not even discussed. So if you can't discuss other options, then you're stuck with one.
Oh, I'm not the one that has to discuss that.
I mean, I'm just saying, I've made other suggestions. There are other ways to solve the problems of the overcrowding right now, and they're not discussed. So if they're not discussed, then that leaves you with one.
They're discussed, they just don't make sense. You can't put the little
I appreciate you knowing who I really am because I am Little House on the Prairie because you know what? Do you know what those people were like? They appreciated education. They were patriots. They were rugged individualists. It was a very good time. Yeah, I like that.
Ma'am, with all due respect, y'all are here to listen to us, and we need you to listen to us because we are the current students. We are graduating. We represent the other student body. We represent our younger siblings. My younger siblings stood up here and spoke. She is the person I'm concerned for because I'm graduating in a few months, but I know she's going to have to experience the middle school in the next 2 years and the high school the 4 following years. You said your suggestions were to add more buildings at the middle school to solve the issue. That doesn't solve the issue, it creates a worse issue. There's overcrowding, and so when there are more buildings, it creates an unsafe environment. I was one of the students who walked the halls who had to go from the main campus to the 6th grade campus because the 6th grade campus no longer exists because there are too many students and we have a West campus. I had to walk from the dance gym to the locker room. I had friends who had to walk to the band hall, the CT building. There are too many buildings and we have too many students. If we could have less students, we would have less buildings because we have students walking across the parking lot. At any point, a person can come up who does not belong to our ISD, park in the parking lot, and just begin roaming during passing period. That is an unsafe situation. We just had last year Uvalde shooting occurred. That is an issue that could happen to our district. I don't want to see that happen. I don't want in 2 years my little sister to call me on the phone crying because I'm at college and something happened. It's an unsafe situation and that is what I'm concerned for.
Well, let me make a comment. I was not here until a few years ago. So all those buildings are not on my time. So those Band-Aids, I wasn't a part of any of that. So. You were still advocating against the bond at that time? No, I was not here during the time that you built all of these schools she's mentioning.
I'm
I
not
wasn't
asking
here.
you
I
to,
haven't lived here very long.
I'm not asking you to comment on the past buildings. I'm asking you to
But you
comment on the
did.
fact that you have a need for more buildings.
You know, let me make one comment. I am one person.
Yes, ma'am. I know
So
that.
a lot of people don't know me. I have no influence on them, and they made up their own mind and they voted. That has nothing to do with me. So I appreciate that you think I have enough influence to affect 6,000 people. I do not.
I'm pretty sure you were standing in front of the voting booth with a shirt that said "Vote No." I'm pretty sure that. Does that not influence people?
Ma'am, we are speaking to you because you are on the board, but we are also addressing the rest of the city who is streaming and watching live. I cannot turn to them. Ms. Trimble said I could speak to you, so I'm speaking and addressing you to address everyone else who's not seeing this issue.
A lot of the issues that are like a ripple effect from the bond is we have a major teacher shortage. Like there are people that came out of retirement to be teachers at the high school, and then some subs became long-term teachers. We're losing the subs because the classrooms are too packed to where they can't handle it, and then people are leaving. So, and that's at the high school. I can only imagine how bad it is at the middle school. Those classrooms are packed, and if we were able to put half the kids in another building, they would be able to effectively more learn, and the teachers wouldn't have to deal with teaching like 30 to 40 kids. They can more effectively teach 20.
Do we have classrooms with 30 and 40 children?
Yes, yes, we do.
And I just want to say, additionally to what Asa was saying, that whenever you have a lot of kids in their classroom, they're not be able to focus and learn the curriculum that they need to, which would in turn raise the STAR level rates and like the grades that they get on STAR. And so by shrinking the classrooms and adding another middle school, the kids will be able to focus more, get more one-on-one time with the teachers, so they can learn and then in turn raise the STAR levels if that seems to be a big concern for you.
And by all means, we do really care about the curriculum. We are one of the few top students of our class. We care about how the outcome comes when it comes to who's making the top grades, who's getting the best STAR points. We care how our district looks in that rating, and we are addressing this issue so we can further that issue in the future and make it better and address that.
I'm not sure if you ever see, I know you've mentioned before that you don't have social media, but I'm not sure if you've noticed. The four of us are in the top 25 of the graduating senior class. So we have been through the curriculum, and we know that this school has a good curriculum, but we have to have those teachers that teach the curriculum. And a lot of teachers don't want to teach that many students and have to grade that many papers or that many algebra assignments.
You have a discipline problem in the school. I really don't like to bring this up, but we're going to have to talk about it now. And so a lot of the teachers don't want to deal with that. So,
Yeah, Miss Sanford already explained that smaller schools means less discipline issues.
then I'm not going to comment anymore because you've got your answers from Ms. Sanford.
A lot of the whenever some teachers came out of retirement, when they retired, that means they're already in their older ages. And a lot of those teachers teach the basic level classes that every student is required to take, like algebra. Right. Every single student has to take Algebra 1 in the high school or in 8th grade and middle school. And a lot of the people that are in the regular algebra class, because they have to take that class, they don't want, there's a lot of students in the school that don't want to be in the class, but we need to have someone teach those students. Yeah. And with the more and more students that we keep bringing into the school district, and we can't expect more teachers to fill classrooms that we don't have. And like you were mentioning, with adding the buildings to the elementary schools, it doesn't make sense to add space to grow elementary schools to go into the same sized middle school. Putting more classrooms means more elementary kids, but those more elementary kids will go into the same small middle school.
Fixing the overcrowding today, within a year, can happen in the two elementary schools. 3 years is what you're looking at for fixing the crowding by building one big school right now. You're not fixing the overcrowding anytime soon. You've got your problem for 3 years while you build another school. You could relieve that right now within a year, and then you still can talk about building your school. We're talking about relieving the crowding now because your classes are big now. 3 years from now, you're not building that school is not going to relieve this for 3 years. How do we relieve this quickly? We can do that by doing the revamp of the elementary schools and taking the 6th grade and putting them. We can do that, and you can get those construction. You're building a kitchen and a cafeteria and some interior division of rooms. You can do that in much less than 3 years at a much less cost, and you can stop your overcrowding quickly. That doesn't mean you're never going to build your bigger school. But we want to stop the overcrowding quickly. How do you do that?
So in 3 years, would you vote for a new middle school? Would you vote yes?
I would, pardon me?
So in 3 years, would you vote yes for a new middle school? Is that what you're saying? You want to fix the overcrowding right now?
I don't know until I know all the facts.
Okay,
See,
that's my last question.
We didn't know about some things about that location. Yeah. I'm telling you, we need to stop the overcrowding now, not in 3 years. We can do it now, and you still can build your school in 3 years.
So
And you can do it at a cost that we can afford, and we can have a 15-year bond and not have any higher payments than the big one. And you can still build your big school.
So you're saying now, and yes, we're crowded now, and I'm not going to say that not all the schools are crowded, but there's no way you can move 6th grade back to the elementary because there's not room there. And now is not, because even if you added to the elementaries, it's still going to take 2-3 years to do it. It's not going to be an overnight
to
fix.
build a cafeteria and a kitchen doesn't take 3 years. I don't know why. Google
Well, have
can
you
build.
seen even houses being finished real quick lately?
Listen, if Google can build their facility in a year and a half and it's umpteen big, 3 years to build, 3 years on land we already have, no. And to build a cafeteria and a kitchen, no, it doesn't take 3 years.
But you don't even have classrooms to put them in.
Yes,
You're
we
talking
do.
about the
You're not
cafeteria.
full in your schools. If you would rework those classrooms in those 5 elementaries, you've got 400 children. You can get 320 of them in 2 schools if you do it at a bond that is very tolerable, and you can build that out in far less than 3 years. So that will remove those children out of that middle school. Then when you build your big school, you put those children there, you have all the growth space there in the elementaries again. So you have future space, you have relieved crowding right now, and you have a bond you can afford.
So with your suggestion of moving the 6th grade into the elementary schools, 6th graders, all the elementary schools who don't have access to athletics, people start that in 6th grade. They don't have access to the band program, which starts in 6th grade, or the choir programs, or the theater program. The elementary schools don't have those facilities. So how can we realistically put 6th graders in all of those buildings without those accommodations?
How many of those 6th graders use that? That's a good point. So how many 6th graders use those programs?
They do.
We thank you for your time, and we just want to, final point, say, y'all are here to listen to us. Please listen to us, listen to the community. We want to address the issue that there's constant arguing, and that is fine. That's how you make decisions. But we need you to pay attention to the people who are here on behalf of the bond or against the bond. Listen to the community and the people you represent.
I listen
Thank
to
you. The entire board, ma'am.
I listened to you, and you said you need relief right away. I agree with you. How do you do that? Not 3 years. So I agree with you, and there is a way to do that.
Okay, just to clarify, Mr. Halsey, our engineer, is here. It's 2 years to do the elementary, if we were to, thank you, students, we appreciate y'all. If we were to do the elementary, but I want you to remember, at those 2 elementaries the bond failed at, we now have 2 portables at each one. So if we added those classrooms, we're not gonna move 6th graders into them. We're gonna move those kids out of the portables into the building. So there's still no room for the 6th graders because we're gonna move those elementary kids out of the portables into the building. So just clarifying that. And as far as the numbers, don't forget that I told you that the numbers on Red Oak Elementary was prior to the developments after 2021. So those numbers are skewed. They're going to be quickly at capacity as well. So just to verify that. Okay, Mr. Mendoza.
Hi, my name's Mike Mendoza. I'm a numbers guy, you know, and really the numbers tell the story. Numbers don't have an opinion, but people want to interject their opinions and use semantics to change how things should be. So first of all, we are going to have a massive amount of people coming to Red Oak. Glen Heights as well is growing at a rapid rate. And there are some things that people don't know or understand, but they assume they know. I've been talking to developers. I spoke with our mayor, and Google is not going to have a building up in 2 years. Or 3 years. Google hasn't even announced when they're going to break ground, just so that you know, okay? And if we were to pass this bond and everything was to go through, it would be 2 years that we would have a new middle school, not 3 years. You have the same slides in front of you that we're seeing, okay? So interest rates are not skyrocketing, although some people feel they are because we've had such stagnant interest rates for so long. We forget where interest rates were at one time up to over 18%. So interest rates really are not blowing through the roof. They're just about where they're supposed to be. But had we passed a bond earlier, the interest rates were less and building costs were less. Now we have to deal with interest rates that are higher and building costs that are going to be higher. A year from now, building costs will be higher again. A year after that, they will be higher again. What we don't know is what's going to happen with interest rates. But what I do know is the people are coming. And when you start looking at building that's going to take place on 0 lots, and people are becoming in here in masses, those numbers that I see up there for 1,600 in the middle school are probably under-projected. So all of the numbers we're looking at are based on old numbers before they see the growth rate of what's going to be coming here. And it's coming. Like it or not, it's coming. And what I know is that a good school system will determine the quality of the neighborhoods, will determine the quality of the homes we live in. And I'll tell you one other thing. If I'm a school teacher and I'm looking at numbers, and I can make $55,000 a year in Red Oak, but I can make $70,000 a year in Midlothian, I might reconsider where I want to teach, even though I have a love for Red Oak. Because sometimes the numbers cause you to make decisions, not the emotions. So I think that's something else we have to consider. If we want to keep these great teachers here, we're going to have a reason to keep them. Now, there seems to be, I don't know a lot about school system money, but it seems to me there's 2 pots of money. There's one pot which is called M&O, and there's another pot called INS. And the M&O is handling maintenance and operations, and that's also what pays the salaries for our school teachers and our bus drivers and probably the school police and everything else, our custodial people. Everything's coming from that pot. And over here is the INS budget. That is the only way we can build a school is utilizing the INS money, but we can't have more money because a bond isn't getting passed. So to create the Band-Aids, which you weren't here for before, to create more Band-Aids is money coming out of the M&O. And if more money's coming out of the M&O, then something's gonna give. So if you can't pay the teachers and you can't pay all the maintenance people and you can't pay the school police, there's only one option that the school has, and that's to increase the tax to cover the deficit in the M&O. And they don't need anyone to vote on that. So when you're saying no to the bond, which needs the INS money, what you're actually saying is, vote no so we can have a tax hike. But yet the signs say, vote no tax hike ahead. And there is no tax hike. That is another twist of words, because nothing's going to happen. The general public is going to believe if we vote yes, next year on our taxes, we're going to have to pay more because of this bond, and that is not a true statement. That means all of those dated signs are technically fraud, because it is not correct. Okay? So we're not, if we're paying it over time, it's no different than the homeowner who says, I must put on a new roof on my house or I will have leaks. And he doesn't have the money. But the mortgage loan originator comes in and says, I can refinance your house, we can cover that, and you'll have no new payment. Of course, your 12 years left on your mortgage is now going to go to 30 years. But they're not going to pay any more per month. And this is where the semantics get twisted, because what you're trying to convince the homeowners of is that their taxes are going to go up. Not true. It's not going to go up based on the bond. Could it go up because the valuation of their homes went up? Absolutely. Can we control that? No. Do I like the property taxes that I pay here in my house in Red Oak? No. I do not like it. I do not like paying taxes to anybody, including the IRS, and that day's coming up. Okay? I don't like paying taxes, but what I understand is that's how you get the moving parts to take place. I don't agree with everything the government does with our money, for sure. Okay? I don't believe they're accountable, but I'm looking at Red Oak ISD. And I believe in this school district. And I believe that the people are going to do the right things in this school district. So I don't have a challenge with there's the potential of extending the amount of time we have debt. And there will be more homeowners. And if there's more homeowners and there's more taxes being paid, hopefully they will never have to increase our tax rate at all. That would be the goal. That's what they're looking for. What I know is that if you have that challenge in the future when you try and get a bond, then there would be a legitimate gripe amongst the homeowners to say, but you said. But you know, they're being very transparent and very clear about the whole thing, what they said. We're listening very clearly. It's not our intention to have to increase the tax rate, because based on our projections, and those projections I think are even understated, because if the number of people coming into our ISD area grows at a faster rate than what's being predicted in those projections, then we're going to do just as well of paying down these bonds sooner than anticipated and save interest. But I'll tell you the one thing that's for sure is when I heard the realtor come up here and talk about the people that said they moved because they looked at what the future of the school district was going to hold for their children. I have a neighbor who lives right across the street from me, over 5,000 square foot house on 1 acre. And he told me, after the last bond failure, he says, we're out of here. I said, why do you say that? He says, because this city doesn't care about its kids. I didn't make this stuff up. He didn't make that stuff up. And that's what's going to happen, is you're going to see people of all different classes that the school district was important to them, and if they see a degradation in what's going on here, because some people just did not want to move forward with what must be moved forward. I look at these shirts that came out, no Little House on the Prairie, I think it's cute. But when I first came out here the first time, I said, it seems like people are stuck in the Flintstones generation. So that's a lot more advanced than the Flintstone generation, okay? And I can see that this is a need, it's not a want. This isn't about the scoreboard that people are gonna talk about through all eternity that they could go buy one cheaper at Costco. The reality is we need the middle school if you look at the numbers. We need to deal with the numbers. And the numbers are taking money from M&O whether we like it or not. And unless we do something, it's gonna pop. And we don't have time to sit here and wait for different schools of thought and we'll see what it looks like in it's over in 3 years. It's just done. There's just no way that if we're having to go to DeSoto ISD to have to use their facilities because there's nowhere else for our kids to go here, and that you got to do something with the kids. They're mandated to make sure these kids have somewhere to go. If the parents understand that many of their kids going to middle school are going to be bused and taken away and taken out of our city area to DeSoto? How are you going to explain that? They're going to come back to this school board and say, what did you do? Now, I know a lot of them aren't voting because that very same neighbor who says Red Oak doesn't care, I said, did you vote? And you know what he said to me? No, I just figured it was going to go through. And I think that was the biggest challenge we had because there were people that just could not comprehend that we would take down the bond. There was just couldn't. And what I got to look at is the number of voters that turned out is pitiful. And I think now as we're starting to grow, I know that there's people been working really hard to get out there and canvass and get people to understand we need your vote. There's been an equal number of people that are saying tax hike, tax hike, tax hike. And there is no tax hike. Had that bond went through on the last go around, we would have had no tax hike. That was fraud. We'd have had no tax hike. It would have been the same taxes, and you know what? Interest rates were less then than they are now. And you know what? The cost of materials was less then than it is now. So I look at this and say, like I heard one other person say, what are we waiting for? Because it's not going to get better. So that's it.
Mr. Marino. Mr. Marino.
His name is Mr. Mendoza.
Mendoza, what do you do for a living?
What do I do? Like I said, I'm all about numbers.
Yeah,
I'm a financial advisor.
with Prime America?
Yes.
And when you do your slideshow,
I don't do a slideshow.
and you do your PowerPoint,
I don't do a PowerPoint.
what
But go
did
ahead.
what did you do at the chamber luncheon?
What did I do? Oh, I presented some basic financial literacy.
And you did that in what form? A PowerPoint?
That was a
or-
PowerPoint, yeah, because there was
so we
any way
do
to
a
address the
PowerPoint.
group, yes.
Okay. In your PowerPoint, you have a triangle right in the middle.
Yes.
And the word debt, and you have an X on it.
Yes.
And you say you teach families, which is wonderful, that they should not have debt.
No, how to eliminate their debt.
Mhm.
There is a big difference between consumer debt than there is other debt. Corporate debt is known all over the place, okay? Big organizations can't move without debt because the amount of money they need to use to move those big organizations. A household, on the other hand, doesn't need Visa or its cousin MasterCard and a Home Depot card and a Lowe's card, and they don't need that. So my responsibility working as a financial advisor is to teach people how to squash revolving debt. This is not revolving debt. This is fixed debt, this is a bond, and this is used for building. So this is not the same thing. No different than a mortgage loan.
I understand.
A mortgage loan is leveraged debt. If you told everyone you cannot buy a house unless you have cash, what do you think would happen in the real estate market?
Well, I've been a real estate broker 55 years, so I understand.
But yeah, don't try to skew what I do as a financial
No,
advisor.
that's all
into-
you did was,
That's
I mean,
all I
that
did.
is the
29
program.
29
That's the
years.
program. Yeah.
29 years
Don't have debt or have, control your debt.
for families. Okay, not
But
for
the
institutions.
taxpayer out here is not families.
Yes, they are. Every single one of these taxpayers is families.
Okay.
It's
So-
not, but we're talking about consumer
I
debt.
understand.
Okay?
But this
Taxes is not debt of the consumer. I know they want to feel like it's debt of the consumer. We have no control over that. It's something we have to pay. It's part of the cost of existence, just like sales tax is. But you can't pay it off. You can't get to a point where you can say, well, I'm going to accelerate my tax payments so I never have to pay a tax payment again. But you can do that with revolving debt. No, voting no does not impact. Okay, yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the peanut gallery. Yeah. So what's important to understand is there is no tax hike by voting no. There technically will be a tax hike by voting no, because you'll cause the M&O to get depleted, which would cause there to be a tax hike that none of us get to vote on because the stubborn people wanted no's.
I just had one question. We had several people wanting to know, can you guarantee that there will be no tax increase during this period? I would like to ask the reverse of that question. Is it possible that this growth that is forecast could generate enough additional taxpayers and housing units and businesses, et cetera, that in 10 years from now we could be looking at the possibility of either A, paying those bonds off and being rid of them, or B, reducing the interest INS tax rate to where we no longer have to have that much money coming in there?
I mean, the current, again, we just have projections. The current projections, as I said earlier, was 2 or 3 years of property value increases and then no value increases. And under that scenario, we can maintain and pay off all the debt with the current tax rate. So there is a possibility that that could happen to where the tax rate could go down. But again, with the current debt and even with the existing debt for the bond, there is that possibility. But again, that's the future. And we don't know what the future holds.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you look at the debt that we have, when those bonds were passed and there was a tax, that tax has steadily, we've come down. So yes, that's a possibility because the current debt we're paying, that's exactly what has happened. The tax has come down. So yes, that's a big possibility. It could go down as well.
Sorry. Everybody take a breath. Ms. Sanford mentioned earlier there's people here taking names. Just want to let everybody know I'm the one taking names. So if you would like to talk to me afterwards, come see me. I have a lot, and we're trying to get out of here. The no new tax rate was mentioned about last summer. There were 5 or 6 people that were trying to plea and beg the board to do that. And to me, that basically is the no new teacher rate, is what that would have been. She said it herself that no other district in our county did that either, and that's because they did teacher raises, and that's because we're at a time where teachers are in demand, and we would have lost a lot of teachers had we done the no new tax rate, because the no new tax rate means no more spending this year than last year. So that's absolutely no raises for teachers, absolutely no M&O, which Mike has made clear we've continued to battle that and spend it because we don't have a new middle school. I just want to thank the board for sticking to their guns last summer. I couldn't be at all those meetings, but I was watching, and I want to say thank you for that, and in making sure that we do have teachers so we don't have more kids with no teachers in their classrooms sitting in the cafeteria or getting split into other classrooms or combining classes. So I do appreciate that as a parent and an educator. Ms. Story made a great point earlier when she talked about the scores, and I know we don't want to get back into curriculum, but the scores combined with the data that Ms. Sanford presented shows that we need another middle school, and I appreciate that very much. There's a gentleman's question about the 6th grade and the solution that Ms. Story, that Ms. Story brought up. And after the last board meeting, I took a hard look at it, at her idea about the 2 elementary schools. And I'm not a pro, I'm not a builder. I was the committee chair for the committee that made that presentation. And I am pretty involved in the district and the elementary schools. I volunteer at Woodin. I used to work at ROE. I have my kids are at Shields. I'm friends with the Jacksons at Shupman, and Eastridge is the one I really don't have much of a connection with. I do go to birthday parties for the AP's kid there, so I know these people, and I ask them, when you presented that question, that option, I said, where are the classrooms? Are there classrooms? They're not there. Mr. Waller clearly stated in that same meeting that in 6th grade, there's 480 kids. You split that across the 5 campuses. Now, I did used to teach math, so I'm sorry if I go too fast. You split that across the 5 campuses, and you're basically at 100 kids per campus. Excuse me. If you do a $35 million bond to put 8 classrooms on 2 campuses, you've taken out 200 of those kids. Where are we putting the other 300 on the other 3 campuses? On those campuses, there's no empty rooms. We're shoving staff members into makeshift shanties and workrooms that have been turned into closet-sized offices. There is no room in this district. I've been in all the schools. I did the tours. I showed up. I went and did my duty. I've worked at 2 of them. I spend more time at the 3rd one than I do the other 2. So there's no room. I'm just trying to figure out where you're trying to put these 6th graders with your solution, because it's not there. And the reason I did the research is because you mentioned it, and another person asked me about it, and I got into it, and we explained it, and the room's not there. And I'm not about kindergartners with 6th graders and all that, and I think the kids here did a good job of explaining how 6th grade wouldn't receive the services they're supposed to if they went back. But to me, again, I'm kind of like Mike, it's just a numbers game. It's not there. That solution is not viable. And I felt like I had a lot of the information to present that to you. So if you have a question, I'd be happy to continue. One thing also, and it's kind of the money. We have a large, well, I don't know how large. We have a group of people in town. Debt is bad, right? Mike talked about it. Debt is bad. And I agree. Personal debt is bad. But they're all over about that. And we talk about the approximately 90, 80 million, that it could be 120 with interest. But if you look at the data and the school districts are size, and I presented this same information right here on this spot a year ago, that is very small debt for a 5A school district. A district that is growing like ours and is our size has a bond election passed generally every 5 to 6 years. We're at 16. It's very simple. I said this information a year ago, so I'm not going to cover it too much. But if you look at, and I won't degrade them, it is achievable to have an INS of 0. It is achievable. So I did the quick research. The 7 closest districts to us that paid off all their debt, reduced their INS. Let me explain them to you. Cransville's Gap, 132 students. 3-Way ISD. Has anybody even heard of that? 236 students. Axtell, 757. Decent size. Golson. You guys heard of that? 231 kids. Morgan ISD, 139 kids. Walnut Springs, 178 kids. Milford, we know where that is, 238 kids. For a district our size, yes, and they put it well below others in the area. For a district our size, growing like we are, 0 INS is not practical. It's not achievable, but they're going to push us to try to get there as long as they can. And in the meantime, our kids are suffering. And by the way, there are none on the I-35 corridor with a 0 INS. So again, I appreciate your time. Just want to present some information, let you know that we are exploring your ideas. We just can't get behind any of them because they're not practical.
Okay, so I have a couple things that I want to address real quick. I like the way she put the football field on that other side with the parking in front. I thought that was a pretty good idea. The other thing that she brought up that I want y'all to address is that she said if you pass the bond, we have any new taxes, and then you said we weren't going to increase the tax rate. Well, then you did. Was that in response to the fact that the bond didn't pass? Did y'all feel like you had to raise it to get some of the funds? Or can you explain the thinking behind that?
The tax rate was not actually increased. We lowered the tax rate.
Okay, yeah. So it was not increased.
No, the board actually voted and lowered the tax rate.
Voted to lower the tax rate.
That's
so
correct.
That's just
did not do
misinformation from somebody.
Yeah.
And
They're,
Okay.
they're saying
Okay.
that we increased it because we didn't give no new revenue, but we actually lowered our current.
Right. She had a valid point. If we didn't get the bat, and then y'all did that, that'd be a valid point to bring up to like that. I mean, I appreciate the fact that someone is willing to do something like that. The other question I have, and I need to address the audience, just one person. Is that okay? Can I address Mr. Stample? How many people did you say? How many's in that development? Who's the builder? I need their information so I can sell their homes. No, seriously, I'm wanting to do the numbers on it real quick.
You can go to Pecan Hill and
It
get
was
it.
how many homes?
He can go to Pecan Hill and get it.
1,200 homes. Okay, so let's just take those 600, let's just take half of that number, okay, and say half of those people that are going to move into their homes are going to have the 2.5 students that every family has, right? The average family has 2.5, right? So let's just take that number.
2.7.
Okay, 2.7 times 600, that's 1,200 students, correct? How many apartments are coming in over on Red Oak Road? There's what,
There's 300, and how many are one bedroom? They'll have no children.
okay,
You
so
have to
how many?
pull those out.
Yeah, so we'll pull those out. So we'll take that down to at least 60%, right? 65%. So let's just take it down to 50% again, okay? So you got 150, 2.5 students, or let's just say 2. That's still another 600, correct? Do you see where I'm going with it? So if we're looking at another 1,800 students coming in, and the next year, the question is where are we going to put them? And are we going to overwhelm the staff, which my wife is a part of, and who spends, sometimes she'll come home and she's exasperated because she said, I had to spend the first 20, 25 minutes in this one class calming down the few students who I couldn't, had to take off the hoodies or had to, hoodie patrol, but, had to take off the hoodie or I had to address the gum chewing issue or they kept talking out and I never even got to the curriculum for the other students, because these kids can't be pulled out. Or the one time that the middle school had to have one substitute teacher watch over 5 classrooms because they were so short-staffed. Those are the type of issues that we're facing on this. And then as far as that goes, you're doing what you can as a bond. I want to tell everybody, because I can't look at you and I'm not looking at you. So I just want to tell everybody, listen, guys, if we want to see a change, we've got to grab the people around us. We can't knock those who are voting against us. Let's grab somebody, link arms with them, bring them to the polls with us, and let's vote this thing in like we want to if they do decide to present it. And if they don't, and if we don't link arms with somebody and bring them in, it's not those who voted no that defeats us. It's those of us who didn't get enough people around us at the same time.
Correct.
I just want to clarify, people have talked about the no new revenue. Back in 2019, the state implemented some transparency. And again, what their goal was to show just a number is if you had you raised the same amount of taxes this year that you did the prior year, what would that tax rate be? And of course, that tax rate's going to be lower because some of the property values went up. We're not we would be penalized if we did adopt that no new revenue. Again, school districts funding partially taxes, and then the rest of it is state funding. The state funding would have gone down. They would have penalized us if we'd have done that. So we would have been in a negative situation. So there is no way that school district can really adopt a no new revenue tax rate. Again, as indicated, it may be the cities and counties that can do that, but not school districts because we get funding from multiple sources. Just another clarification, it was mentioned that we had $120 million a year ago. That number is actually, I just looked a minute ago, is 110. 80 million for outstanding bonds, 30 million for outstanding future interest. Again, the goal would be that if we could start paying them bonds off after the 10 years, that interest of $30 million would go down because we're not needing to pay it if we pay the principal off early.
Hi, my name is Lacey Nichols. I'm a former Red Oak High School graduate. And so I just wanted to say, I am not going to lie, I voted no in the last bonds, both of them or whatever. But I want to thank all of y'all for all the information because I do feel like that y'all have changed my mind. I do think that it is important for the kids to have a bigger or a middle school, but however, I do think that we just need to compromise on the spending of that, not be excessive with it. Just for example, I feel like even with the high school, the big dome on the top of that thing, I'm not sure what that's for exactly. So just things like that, I feel like that we can try to compromise on spending in a smart way for what is best for them. They need it. They're overcrowded. I have a kindergartner that is at Eastridge, so I don't support bringing the 6th graders into the elementary school because I'm not sure how that solves the problem, because then it just further makes the elementary schools crowded. And then I also just wanted to ask, in the bond, is there anything for like security measures in this bond?
We will have all of the, it'll have all the updated security. I mean, that is included. It's literally, like we said, going from a field to a fully functional school. So yes, it will have all of, that was part of the community input too. We went as well, you know, how do we want the windows? Where do we want the windows? What kind of enclosed vestibule do we want to have when you walk in? And so yes, all of the security measures will be on that campus.
Because I just want to say, you know, it's just important for it to be, you know, let it be a building, let it be a nice building, but let's not be crazy with it. And so I think that, I don't know if you agree with that, to where that y'all could come up with a compromise and agree upon that you would then be on board if the spending was reasonable.
Isn't that picture that was up there, isn't that what the school will look like? Because we took that from the last time. So that is what, if we passed it, that's what it will look like. There's no dome on the top.
No, I understand, but I just mean like, you know, we don't have to have fancy this, fancy that, whatever. Give them what they need to learn.
Absolutely.
But we don't have to get crazy with it. And I think that would be fair.
And again, I know that it's hard to comprehend, but our hope is to come way under that 97.5. It truly is. But we have to put that price in there to show escalation, and the per square foot, you know, they give us this is how much per square foot. It's kind of like when you're building your house and you're going to get laminate on the countertop, or you're going to go for the full-blown granite. You know, you've got that budget. So I totally agree with what you're saying on that, and we are actually doing that, making sure that we're doing everything that is, you know, that's fiscally responsible with the money. We want the floors that are not going to take a lot of money to upkeep, because that's just more money coming out of the taxpayer. We looked at the type of windows that we can get in there that they're secure, but they may be a little cheaper. So our goal is to come under that budget. But what I don't want to do is for the next superintendent to be standing up here and you go, well, that Brenda Sanford, she said she could build that building for $80 million and it cost us $87 million, and we don't trust you now for the next 40 years. That's kind of what happens. I don't want that to happen. So we are putting that price up there to a point that we are going to get into that building for that worst case scenario. If it only cost us $80 million to build that building, we're only going to sell bonds for $80 million. Whatever it costs is what we're selling the bonds for. And I love what Ms. Story said about I wasn't here when those Band-Aids happened. I wasn't here when Live Oak happened. So quit saying you don't trust me. I was not here when that happened. And that was a good deal for the city as well. I mean, and for the community as well. And when I look at all the things that happened and people are showing me, they were doing what the taxpayers were asking them to do. They were saying, get rid of that. They called it, an albatross? I think is what the people told me they were calling it. Get rid of that. Find a way to get land. We were able to secure land, y'all. We have land for 2 elementaries for growth and a middle school. We have a wonderful Ag Science Center. We have a lot of things we were able to do with those funds that we would not have been able to do as a district. So please, if you have questions about that, come to me. Don't just say, I don't trust the district. Done. They did something wrong 20 years ago. My child got kicked off the basketball team, and I'll never vote for a bond. My kid didn't get picked on the cheerleading squad. I'm never going to vote for a bond. Y'all put a dome on the top of that building. I'm never going to vote for a bond. Quit looking at the past. please look at the future, what we need for our kids, and trust us to do it. And you know what? If we don't get it done, they can fire me. And they can put somebody else in here. But I'm telling you, we are going to do what we're telling you we're going to do. We are going to build a middle school that's going to allow us for 10 years worth of growth, possibly more, but 10 years worth of growth. We're going to get you in there in 2 years, now versus 3. This is your last chance for August 2025. Otherwise, it's going to be 3. If we did the remodels, if we did a bond for the remodels for the elementary, you wouldn't have room by the time we built them. 2 years. 2 years to get that done. By that time, every one of those rooms will be filled up because we're going to have to move all of those kids out of the portables and we're going to have more kids. We didn't address anything with the middle school. That's not a viable option. It looks good. It sounds good. Just like that piece of cake, but what does it do when you eat it? Looks good. Sounds good. But it ain't good. It's not good for you. That's a Band-Aid. We don't want to be the one that I have another board member sitting up there saying, well, that superintendent, they Band-Aided it. That's a Band-Aid. Don't ask for a bond that Band-Aids. Do a bond that promotes the growth for the future, that stays within our taxing ability. We have a great tax rate, just like a credit score. We're able to get that done. We can get it done in a timely manner. We can get our kids moved in. We can projected not raise your taxes. Could they go up? Yes. Could they go down? Yes. But our projection is it can stay the same across the board. But I would agree with everybody else. Take your mind off of that. Focus on what this district needs. Focus on what the district needs.
Thank you. My name is Marcella Allen. I have been with Red Oak, an employee since 2009. I was the secretary at East Ridge Elementary for 13 years. And the last 5 months, I've been at the CTE building as the new secretary for the Fine Arts Department. I have seen the growth at East Ridge and all the elementary schools in Red Oak. Unfortunately, I do not live in Red Oak. I live in Cedar Hill, but I'm blessed to have had 2 of my kids come to Red Oak. My daughter graduated 2016. She is in nurse, and my son just graduated last year. He's trying to figure out life, and we're dealing with that slowly. But I am grateful to this district for everything that they have given, not only myself, but my family and my children. For the last 5 months, I just said that I've been working at the middle school. It's totally different from what we hear about what's going on. I have what I call the fishbowl, which is the middle area there. Many of you know where it is. I call it the fishbowl, and every 50 to 60 minutes, changing periods, I stand outside the door, holding the door open, making sure that the kids that come from the main building to the CTE building, always reminding them to have their ID on, to take their hoodies off. I even have a countdown of when the bell's gonna ring, and sometimes they come and it's like, Miss, how long do we have? 15 seconds, you've gotta go, we don't wanna be late. And I love doing that, I really do. My concern is that on rainy days, like the ones we had this week, many of them, like some of these kids talked about, come from the band closet to the band hall with their instruments. They can't go through the building because they won't get into the class on time. So they come outside when it's raining, when it's cold. They have to do all these things. It's not like they don't have a choice of, oh, I'm not going to the other building because it's raining, I'm not going to get wet, or because it's too cold. No, they have to come. They have to go. They have to go to the gym. They have to come to the band hall. They have to go different places, inside and outside. And to me, if I was a Red Oak resident, I would vote yes, definitely. Because I see the need, not only as an employee, but as a parent. I would like to encourage all the people that are watching and the people that are here to encourage other people to vote yes, because we really need it. When you go to the doctor and the doctor says, hey, I suggest you take this medicine now, so in 3 years, you won't be having a heart attack. You're not going to wait until you have the heart attack to start taking the medicine, right? So this is what we need. We need that now, so in 3 years, we'll be better. Thank you very much.
All right, I've sat here for the last hour to scream back there a little bit when I wasn't supposed to. But I have a couple of things that I need to make sure that I get out. Yes, we need a middle school. Okay, ask for it. Ask for the bond. We can sit up here every 6 months and ask for another bond till we get it. There's no reason. The numbers clearly show it. Okay? I've been a part of the past. I grew up here. I graduated from here. I went to Red Oak Elementary and was in a portable behind back there where that gym was. Sat in Ms. Goodman's class. Watched the space shuttle blow up in that building back there, in that portable of that old building. I moved from Red Oak Elementary to the old intermediate school on Live Oak. And you know what? We had portable buildings back there too. I sat in the 5th grade side on the north side and 6th grade on the south side, with the dome building right in the middle of it, the gym right in the middle of it. Okay? You know what? There was portables on that side. I didn't go to school here we didn't have a portable building here until we moved to that old junior high on Live Oak, which didn't take long for us to grow out of. By the time that I moved to the high school, we built a new wing on what is now the middle school. So I've been a part of the past, and I'm done. I'm done. We need to move past what happened years ago. I can't fix what happened back then, but we can fix what's going to happen. And we can't stop the growth. The growth is coming. There's no reason that we cannot be more proactive instead of being reactive. I know we've tried, and we've tried, and we've tried. But at some point or another, we as a group have got to decide and understand that we can't stop the growth. These folks up here don't stop the growth. They're coming. I mean, we already see that. I ask, and I think that we've been very clear, being transparent. We've been transparent. I think the board has done a great job of being transparent and putting it out there. Okay? Nothing's free. Nothing's free. We all know that. I understand you're never going to make everybody happy. I'm a grown man, and I work in a fire station, and we can't make 5 grown men happy with what we're going to eat. So we're not going to make everybody happy. But at some point or another, it's growing, and it's coming. I do want to make sure that we understand class size does matter. It's very prevalent in our scores. Thank you, Ms. Story. Facility size does matter. That matters for our teachers, for our staff, and for our students. I do have a daughter that still goes to school here. She's in the middle school right now. She eats lunch about 2 times a week whenever she can get to the cafeteria and find a place to sit. So it is way overcrowded now. And when we take the elementary school numbers that we have and add them to what we currently have without a middle school, it's going to be atrocious. And last but not least, I did a reading today, and I just want to make sure that I read this because I want to make sure that everybody understands it. I do want one thing, that if we do this bond and we do take it to the people, I encourage all the board members, okay, not just our school board, our city officials from Red Oak, Oak-Villa, Glen Heights, to be on board with this. We need to have your support. It's not just these folks. It's all of us. We all have to have that. So I'll leave this in closing. In my daily reading today, it says, you hypocrite. First take the plank out of your eye, and then when you will see clearly, you will remove the speck from your brother's eye. Thank you.
Okay. I'm Angela Thomas. I'm a teacher at the high school. I have a history of fainting at these things, so I'm trying to take a breath. Thanks, Beth. But I feel like I need to say what I want, and my kids were brave enough to get up here, so I wanted to get up here too. But I'm speaking both as a teacher and as a parent. I have a child who's in 7th grade, and I wanted to refute this idea some more of moving the 6th graders to the elementary school, because while most people in here, can I sit down while I do this?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, have a seat. Have this one right here. Come on. Let's do this. I know, don't do that. Okay.
All right, thank you. That's much better. Anyways, while I think many people in here recognize that that doesn't sound like a very viable option, I want to make sure people at home also hear some more things that I keep hearing people say why it's not good to have 6th grade at the elementary school, but there's a few more things we haven't heard. One of the reasons, so I also do not live in the district, but one of the reasons I have not left the district, I mean there's many, is that my child gets really great opportunities at the middle school. She's in band, she's raising a goat this year, she's in athletics, she's a top academic student, and she really does have great students. I'm gonna cry because I'm a passionate person and I care a lot about this. I've dedicated my life to education, and while I'm not a voter, I want the people who do vote to hear. Anyways, if you move those 6th graders to the elementary school, they lose that, unless, are you also planning to build a band hall over there? Are you planning to build a gym where they can start preparing for athletics? Are you going to build an entire choir program over there? 6th grade is where they transition, and they start to go into those things. Yes, we care about academics, but that's also a huge part of academics, is our kids being involved in those activities and growing our campus culture. So if we move them to the 6th grade center, or move 6th graders to elementary school, we're gonna lose that. And for all the other kids coming up, I don't want them to lose that. Have you seen a 6th grader lately? Many of them are bigger than me. They say words that I hope my child doesn't say, but she hears. And it's not just for hearing that from 7th and 8th graders, they hear it wherever else. And do we want that influence over the rest of our elementary kids? I think lots of parents say no, that there's that. They're vulgar. They are learning how to adjust to their hormones. They're huge. My child, when she was at the 6th grade campus, or the West campus, literally was crushed, like, into the door frame. I called up and said, this has happened twice. My child was pushed against the wall, smashed, and thank you. Anyways, so they addressed it. So 6th graders are big. Like, we don't need them at the elementary school there as well. The idea of doubling the opportunities for kids, they've been saying that, and I feel like to some people that sounds like background noise, like, oh, they're gonna get to have 2 basketball teams, 2 student councils. That's huge. In 6th grade, you're trying to find your place. You are there for school because you have to be, but that's where you're trying to figure out who you are. You're gonna be a theater kid, you're gonna be a band kid, you're gonna be an athlete, you don't know what you are. And if you're trying to get into a group where there's 50 people competing for that same theater spot versus 25, because there's 2 schools, that makes a big difference. Okay, sorry. Thank you. Okay. I don't do this in front of my own students. I'm much calmer. Yes, it's funny because I can teach my class every day, yes. I teach at the high school, and my kid's gonna be gone from the middle school by the time this school is built. But these kids are gonna come up to the high school, and the way they're developing the middle school affect us. And they're gonna be more mature, they're gonna be more involved already at the middle school if we have 2 campuses. And they're gonna come up to us ready to be in programs there. They're gonna have come from classrooms where their teachers had more one-on-one time with them. So we wanna raise our academic standards, there's that. It's so many things, putting them in a classroom with half as many students, in halls that are half as crowded. You all say that you are up there to support teachers. I wish you could have felt the way teachers felt the day after the bond failed. We just felt sad. And it wasn't just because we thought they don't want to build a new middle school. It felt like a direct attack, that they don't care about teachers, they don't care about students. And yes, we have places where we can go. We can go to other campuses. We'll tell ourselves, #teacher shortage, we can go somewhere else. We don't want to go somewhere else. We want to be here, and we want that for our kids. You may think you do not have influence because you're just one person, each of you, but specifically the one of you who said you didn't, you were just one person. All of you have so much influence. You encouraged my students to use their voice tonight and to come up and speak. That's scary for all of us. So you did that. If you truly say, all of you, that you are here, that you are up there, that you did everything you had to do to be on this board, to be there for teachers, please use that influence not to fight over small tax numbers, but to really see that the best thing for our students and our teachers and our community is this second school. There's a lot of little things, but if you truly, truly are there for teachers and for kids the way you say you are, and the people who say they've been voting no, and they say, we do love kids, this is how you show that you care about kids, that you do what is best. And I don't know how many other reasons we can say this is what's best. All right, I'm done.
So, Mr. Holsey, have you done had construction done when students are in a class or in a school? How easy is that and how safe is that? Okay, so think about that. Core capacity of changing those around, is that a doable option for the new cafeteria? And how long would this transition happen at the 2 campuses or 3 campuses or 4 campuses that might happen? 2 years, 1 year construction?
Are you talking about at the elementary school?
Yeah.
The elementary school additions?
Yeah.
It's going to take 6 to 9 months to design it, and then it's going to take about 15 months to construct,
so
depending on the phasing and working around, because you got to go outside the building and then back inside the building.
Yeah. Kind of a logistics type thing.
Yes, it is.
And we think it's going to be about 2 years, not 3 years, for the middle school, since we've already got design, right?
We've got the design halfway through, so
halfway?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And no tax rate increase. Doesn't mean they're not going to pay more, because appraisal district kind of increases, correct? Okay. And Google's not scheduled to come for a while. It's probably going to be the latter part of this year before they even submit the plans to the city for review and then mobilize. And it's probably 2 years. And that appraisal might be, $600 million appraised value. And they don't get any tax breaks from the ISD, correct?
Correct.
But does all that money come to the ISD? Oh, what? Oh, can you explain that seesaw thing for us? No? Yeah, I know. Anyway, so more money there, but less money coming from the state. So it kind of equals out, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the one thing that I have heard, and I agree, and Mr. Mendoza, thank you very much. This is corporate taxing. It's okay to go in debt. Okay? It's not personal. Correct? All right? I asked school board, please call for a bond this May election. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board, superintendent. I was taught to greet you first, and members here. My name is Sam Allen. The lovely lady that came up and talked to you earlier is my wife. She's an employee here. I got the opportunity to retire, but before I retired, I spent a long time working as a police officer. I worked in a school district. I managed a school district. I supervised a school district. Here's one problem that you addressed, but you didn't go into it. I think there's an issue with the elementary and the middle school students mixing together. Very, very, very unsafe. And I'll say it again, very unsafe. The other problem that you have is when those kids move up and down the hallway, and I think the teacher mentioned that, and so did the students here. Very, very, very unsafe. And I say that, that's where your fights begin. That's where your pushing and your bullying begin. Our primary responsibility, and I say ours because I'm still involved in doing what I can do to make it safe for every student and every person around too, to make it safe. And my information may be old, but it's valuable. I know how to keep people safe. We talked a little bit about what we need to do and how that school is going to be built. And there's some information in there that requires the school district to do certain things. And that includes making the hallways wider, making the doorways different, making the glass different. Any event you have one of these nuts to come in with a gun again that want to kill up our kids. Having teachers bring guns to school is not a good idea, but keeping them safe is an excellent idea. That means getting them on campus and getting them off campus. You have an excellent police force in this campus. And I know most of the guys on there. A couple of them, including the chief of police, I trained at one time or another. No, Miss Perry, Miss Story, I'm not that old. I just do a lot of things.
Oh, I'm the oldest here, so you can't catch up.
But I've been through 2 cities that experienced growth, and that was in Garland. I started over there and wound up being a lieutenant in that police department. One of the problems that we have is the same problem you're addressing today. And as with the growth, what do we do about the schools? And if you know much about Garland, they have one of the best school districts in the state. And I'm not going to talk long, Superintendent. I could, but I'm not. I'm just trying to make a point. And that is, we have to think about the safety of our kids, period. They don't know what to do, and as the teacher said, they're going through a lot of changes, both emotionally and physically. But we have to be responsible to them. I watched Garland grow, and now we live in Cedar Hill. I watched it grow. The lady spoke about the schools that they designed over there. We took our kids out of that school for a reason, and that is walking down that hallway was unsafe. I actually went over there to watch, to see, and got to the point to where I was just angry. And I said, this is not the place to be. So we brought them over here after the wife started to work here. Best thing we ever did. And you talked about how fast it's growing. It's already here. If you look at the tops, the rooftops in there, and the mayor will tell you this real quick. That's where your growth comes from, is when those residents move in there. Not the corporate businesses. But the rooftops, that's where your tax money come from. And every time they talked about, and incidentally, I'm on the fixed tax rate now, so they can't raise my, but anyway, anytime they talked about raising the taxes, I'd pay it. Not for me, not for my kids, but for all those other kids. And if I lived here in Ovilla, I would be more than happy to pay it. Because you need the schools, you need the room, you need the kids to grow, and we need to help them to grow. And I say that we, because I'm going to be over here pushing this bond election too. So what I'm saying to you, board members, if nothing else, put it on the ballot and let the citizens decide whether or not they want that. But it has to go on the ballot, and you guys have to put it there. It is our responsibility to keep these children safe, whether they live in Cedar Hill, Ovilla, Glen Heights, part of Ellis County, I think, is in the school zone too. And you got a couple more small districts out there. So let's work together on this. Put it on the board, because the kids are here, and they're still coming. And if you look at the rooftops here, you look at the interstate that's coming through here, people are looking for jobs, they're going to come. Most folks will drive through here and say, man, this is a nice city. They don't have an idea that we're fighting over whether or not we're going to build more schools. They say it's a nice city. They move here, and they come here. So let's get ready for them. And I'll let my grandkids come over here, too. Thank you.
I've sat here for almost 3 hours now listening to this. Can you put the stats up for the survey that they did with the parents? My name is Michael Myers, by the way. I live out in Ovilla. I think many of you know me or heard of me. When I first saw this a couple of hours ago, that 91.2% really caught my eye. But I think that it only represents 747 responses. That's roughly 13% of the people that were given the survey. You can look in this room and see that the vast majority of the people out here want the bond. They support the district, they support the school board, and they want the bond. But there's a problem with that, and here's where I'm going to differ a little bit with the mayor. Before you do this, you need to have a strategy on how you're going to do this bond. In the past, we've lost 4 times. You have 2 months before you pull this election again. If you put it on the bond this time, just 2 months. Your political action committee is just now starting to ramp up. I talked to one of the leaders. They tell me they sent this survey out. I don't know if y'all know all that, but they sent the survey out, and they got about 14, 15 responses out of all the people they sent it to. They're underfunded right now. They don't have the money to fight for a new bond. It's just not there. We've lost 4 times in the past. God knows I do support the bond. Without a doubt, we need these schools to be upgraded and new junior high school built. Please don't misunderstand that. We need it, and we're going to have it. But you have to do it strategically. You have to think about the best timing to do this. And without a solid political action committee pushing it, I don't think this is the right time to do it. Your superintendent and the administration cannot have a whole lot of influence on this thing. The only thing the state allows them to do is to give you facts. The political action committee can do more than that. They can design brochures that they don't have to have approval for from the administration or from the school board. They're independent. We have to give them time to develop if you want this thing to pass. You can almost certainly expect those yellow signs to come back out as soon as you take your vote. They're coming. It's unfortunate. We have a school board member that's part of that bunch that splits the board. They give bad information to people. In the last election, I think you lost by what, 56, 57%? That's a pretty decent majority. They beat you because we didn't have a strategy. We've got to develop a strategy to do this thing. When you look around the room, you've got how many voters in the Red Oak School District? 7,000, 8,000, maybe more. How many showed up tonight? There's apathy out there. It's just apathy. And every one of them are already, well, the majority of them are disposed already to vote against no new taxes. And you see it on those yellow signs in the door hangers. And you can bet your bottom dollar they're coming out. It's almost like it, and I hate to be a naysayer, and that's not my nature, but it's like they got you beat before you start. If you don't have a way to counter that, you're only 2 months out. If you wait till November, that'll give you, 7, 8 months to build your PAC, build some money, because it takes a lot of money to run an election. You give them whatever support the law will allow you to give them, but they have to have money to counter those no vote signs. The public already doesn't want to do it because they believe it. Those kids that you saw up here, the top of the crop, cream of the crop, have more sense about this thing than the majority of the voting public. It's just sad, but they understand it. The public does not. So as you're sitting there thinking about doing this, think strategically. Put it off to November, develop your PAC, get some money in the bank so you'll have something for mail-outs and all the stuff that goes with an election. It's not as simple as just saying do it and then let it go, because it will fail. We've seen it before and we'll see it again. So please think about that before you do this. I would encourage you to wait till November.
Good evening. I know it's getting late, and I know most of you guys know me, and I've been very quiet through this entire process, which is not me. But I wanted to show you a picture of this little guy. Y'all see that little guy? So when I moved to Glen Heights in 2016, I didn't have this little guy yet. He was born in 2017. But anyway, I did my research. I moved in Glen Heights on the Ellis County side. Didn't like what was going on the Dallas County side. I'm sorry if Councilman is still here. But I moved on the Ellis County side because I liked Red Oak ISD. I was working in Lancaster ISD. I worked in Lancaster ISD 19 years. They went through the same thing, no bonds. I'm sure you already know that. Lancaster has a new stadium, a new high school, a new middle school, 2 new elementary schools. They did it. According to your data, it's dropped. Lancaster's had dropped. Go research and see where it is now. Go look at it now and see what they're doing. So when I moved here, I had a vested interest. I have even more vested interest right now. I have a new pre-care at Shootman Elementary with Miss Jackson. She's doing an excellent job, by the way. And he's a booger wooger. Y'all know what that means? He's mine. He's a booger wooger, so I know she's making her money, and Miss Kelly James, his teacher, is making her money. I got a phone call Monday, had to go get him. I understand what teachers go through. I did not realize that her enrollment is 700 and something in that building. It's a nice building, too, but how long is that gonna last? They're building those houses behind her building. They're still building. They're getting ready to stretch out to Old Villa, all that land. They've already started that new housing addition on Westmoreland. Y'all, you guys know that. Preaching to the choir. You already know all that. And I really feel like, in my heart, most of you guys are on board with this already. We got one standout. One don't stop, no show. If y'all know what I'm saying. Okay? I know I can't turn around and talk to them, but I want to show them my little booger wooger too. But so he's just 1 out of 6,000. But what I'm getting is the people that are in this no club don't care about what happens to my little Kylan. He's going to be at the middle school one day. And he doesn't live with me either. His mom lives in Red Oak. But he's going to be at the middle school one day. And I want him to have the best education that all of our taxes pay for. I don't care if it does cost $300 million. I don't care. But he deserves the best education that Red Oak ISD can give him. And I'll never stop saying it. And I'm not lobbying for Kylan. I'm lobbying for all of the 6,000 students at Red Oak ISD. That's what make them be better citizens, and that's the way to do it. Go research Lancaster's data.
Yeah, you guys need to put this up for a vote, because it's not up to you, it's up to the citizens. Hello?
Yeah.
There you go. You need to put this up for a vote, because the citizens in this town and this ISD, you know, I don't vote in this district. A lot of you know me. When we had a vote this last time, and I'm probably going to surprise a few people here, when we had this vote this last time, I reached out to a few people that I worked with and I said, why are you teaching them how to win this bond? And y'all still didn't win. We taught you how to win it. And when everybody tells me, you know, I'm on social media, I'm out there, when everybody says you hate the children, go tell my grandchildren that, who have lived in my home almost all of their life, and I have given my life to them. Tell me I don't love the children, right? Secretly, sorry, Penny, secretly I hope this thing wins every time it comes up. Why? Because I'm a human being. But I have another part of me that doesn't want anything tax related to win. And I hope you understand that, because if you don't understand that, you may never win a bond again here, right? You may never win another one because you don't understand your adversaries. You don't know who you're talking to. You don't know your snide little remarks. Do you know that your snide little remarks, I go get 3 more no votes? Your snide remarks on Facebook, on Nextdoor, I go get 2 more no votes. Because all I got to do is show them that you're talking about them. That the supporters of the Yes Crew, they're talking about you, brother. That's all I've got to do. So your snide little comments, your little talking down to the no crowd, just makes it easier for me to go get no votes. I'm teaching you how to win this thing. If you want to listen, if you don't, then don't. You ain't playing games. You want to win these bonds? You want to have a school? You ain't doing it right, because you're talking down to a bunch of folks. When you talk down to a bunch of folks, you're talking down to me. In COVID, we talk a lot about COVID up here today. I lost my career for COVID because I will not get a vaccine. You can judge me or not, but I lost my career of 30 years because of a virus. If we keep raising the taxes in the city and in the county and the school district, not here because I voted in Ferris, and oh yeah, you know, I work against 2 bonds every year. This one and Ferris. My son was the benefactor in Ferris to go to the brand new high school that was built there, 2009. He was the first class in there. And you have never seen such a happy crew. My son and his friends, that was the best thing you could have ever done for those children. They still talk about it. Yeah, I think I voted for that one, guys. Right? I voted everything down, and I don't know how many years here now. Partly because the city, man, you guys are working against the city. You guys are working against the people running the city because it's all Red Oak. So if I'm going to vote against this bond because of something the city does, oh yeah, you're losing out there too. Do you have any idea how easy it is to get a no vote to go talk about what happens in city council? Any idea? I'm sitting here telling you how to win an election. So if you listen to me, you don't listen to me, I don't really care. I'll continue to vote no unless something in this city changes. I vote in Ferris, don't forget. I spent a lot of time here. Spent a lot of time talking about how our superintendent ought to resign. Sorry, don't even know you. I see people hounding Penny, man. Everybody was quiet while everybody else was talking. She starts talking, and the chatter back here, everybody gets to talk while Penny's talking, but you know what I mean? Man, that was disrespectful to the whole crowd. I know Penny, she's a friend of mine. When Penny said, well, I voted to have this thing put on the ballot. Absolutely she should. Why shouldn't she vote to have it put on the ballot? It's not her responsibility to say yes or no for the voters. It's not your responsibility to stand up there and say, no, the voters can't vote on it. You shouldn't be able to do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 people should not be able to tell the voters that they can or cannot vote on anything. Put it on a ballot, because I need a good fight this year. I'm kind of bored. And I'm not kidding. Penny's over there laughing. I'm not kidding. I'm bored. I'm semi-retired. I got all the time in the world to do this. And I'm not one of the people that sit at home with apathy in my heart. I have a commitment. I have a political strategy in this world, and I will work to defeat this bond if I choose to, and you guys aren't really giving me any reason not to. In my heart, I would like to see a middle school, right? But you can't even convince a guy that wants what you are presenting to vote for you. But the snide comments, the yes people that are out there doing this and that and saying this and that, yeah, it's easy. It's easy. All I got to do is sit down with somebody. They might even want to vote for a school. I'll talk them out of it. I won't lie to them either. Because the fact of the matter is, no tax rate increase means we have a tax increase. I don't care what you say. I don't care how you say it. It's just that far from being a lie, I think is what you said. So we can both do this back and forth, and it's about the children, about the children. Well, about the next time somebody says to me, I hate children, are the kids still here? No, I don't hate children. You know what I did for my grandson because he's having a hard time in school? I went over and picked him up today, and I spent the afternoon with him and told him it was going to be okay because you got to go to school. We got to find a resolution to this, right? I said, maybe you're the problem a little bit. Maybe it's not all the teacher, right? So when you look at me and you say, there's this son of a gun over here doing this again, yeah, I'm here doing it again because you ain't giving me a reason to vote for it. I don't know. Why don't you tell me? All you got to do is give me a reason because in my heart it's right there. But I understand. But one of the things that did particularly break my heart today was your snide comments, just your attitude, and you a little bit, right? Now you can sit here and say, well, blah, 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 but as somebody that's out here pulling in a couple hundred votes a weekend, 10 votes, 2 votes, what's it take? How many votes did we win by? How many of those were mine? Several, believe me. So you can sit here and say, oh, that guy don't know what he's talking about. For the first time in my life, I'm a political activist in the state of Texas. And I'm telling you how to win an election. You got to be nice to folks, man. You can't sit up here and be the, I don't know, you're elected, right? You're elected officials? The people elected you? So the people elected you, but you can't get a bond passed. So I would say to each one of you that are doing this, resign. You're kidding me? You got, what was the number up there? Pull that up there. What was the number again? The people that want the bond to go through was what, 90%? 90 what? Because I can't remember anything. You got 91.2 say yes, call for the bond, and you can't get it passed. I'm laughing at you. But you think you deserve to sit up there. You got elected and other people didn't get elected. You call for a bond and 91.2, and you're losing a bond. But you be smug with me. Be smug with me because you're losing a bond. I don't care if you're smug with me. It's kind of comical. It's kind of comical to see how you treated everybody sitting here today. The people that you did. I know, I see it right there. Oh, that's not me. He's talking bull. No, I sit here and watched you. And I thought, that's the reason why this bond's not passing. Because all I have to do is say, you know what I saw the other night? Believe it or not.
I was here before, and I just wanted to, again, I talked about all the things and the reasons, but we're here. I want to let you guys know, and I was going to say this for the other thing, the 2 minutes later, but hopefully we can speed through that, and I'll give my turn up. But we're here for you. We have our group. We're ready. You know, despite anything else anyone says, every day I'm getting more people involved. So, you know, we're here. We're ready. If the board decides to put the bond up, we're ready. If you decide to wait, we'll be ready when you're ready. So just want to let you guys know that we are here for you. And we're ready to fight the good fight. So,
Last call.
Good evening. My daughters go to Eastridge and my son is at the middle school. There's so much noise, false narratives, alternative facts about school bonds. Is there a website that the community can go to that breaks down school bonds, the entire process, the plans for the middle school, and the excellent rating that Red Oak ISD has? Teachers, staff, and administrators show up for our kids every day. Ms. Rector, Ms. Barbie, Ms. Malin, Ms. Rux, Ms. Hill, Ms. Perez, Ms. Macha, Ms. Todd, Ms. Stanford, Mr. Waller, Mr. Adamczyk, Ms. Edwards, Ms. Choate, Ms. Mays, Ms. Garcia. It's time for us to do the same. Vote yes. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay.
Yeah, we're going to take a 5-minute break. Yep. Go ahead, Johnny. Okay. Okay. When we come back, we're going to go to open forum. So if you signed a purple piece of paper, this will be the opportunity for you to speak in it. As I stated earlier, this is the time for open forum. If you signed a form and still would like to participate, you get 2 minutes to speak. Clock should be on the screen behind me. He's got the clock up there. When you get to the microphone, you don't have to state your name. You don't have to state your address or anything else. And then when you're ready to go, kind of give a signal, raise your hand or whatever, and he'll start the clock. If you choose not to speak when I call your name, just tell me I've changed my mind, and I'll just set it to the side, okay? And these are in no particular order. They were just handed to me. I think I have more forms than people in the audience, to be honest with you. Kim Starman. No, she's right there.
Hi, I believe I've already said a lot of this, but my name is Kim Sturman, and I'm a resident of Red Oak. And this past year, I really tried to support this administration's desire to build a new school. But I cannot because of the cost and the inefficiency of the proposed plans and the timing, most importantly. First of all, a new school does not ensure a better education for the children. So when you say that is all about the children and the crime in our schools is on the rise and the grades are on the decline, I have to question the sincerity of that claim. I am from Cedar Hill, where I raised 5 kids, and I'm here to tell you that the best education my children received was from the oldest, most rundown school, Bray Elementary. But with every passing year, more and more bonds were called to build more and more buildings, and the only thing that happened was taxes went up and the quality of education for the students went down. Eventually, I withdrew my last 2 children from Cedar Hill schools and enrolled them in private school. The administration lost its focus from it's all about the kids to it's all about the buildings. I see the same thing happening here in Red Oak. And here we are again, doing the same thing, asking for a huge bond for a new school during the worst recession in 40 years with ever-climbing interest rates and declining supply chain difficulties when the voters of Red Oak ISD have voted against the bonds twice in the same year. Building and growth is flattening. The current tax rate in Red Oak ISD is tax base is 28,000 residents, and yet you wish to saddle us with almost $300 million in bonds. The voters of ROS ISD have voted twice and do not want this kind of bondage. Here are the issues. Grades are on the decline, and criminal activities in the schools are on the increase, and enrollment is relatively flat. It's not going up as much as was projected. Build a new storm shelter, cafeterias for the 2 elementary schools as was planned May of 2022 for $28 million, and return the 6th grade to the 5 elementary schools with this project to be completed hopefully by August 2023. This is about future growth.
Ms. Starman, 2 minutes is up. Samuel Ireland. Brian Bell.
I know I said I wasn't coming back. I'm sorry. Just 2 brief things. We've had some comments in the past about how we have board members who are and aren't vocal about yes, no, to get involved, and I just ask that I need you guys' help. I need everyone's help. If we're going to do this, if you guys put it on, we need everyone involved, no matter what side you're on. Be on what side you want to be, but get involved. The next thing is our staff. I think a lot of our staff thinks that if they don't live in Red Oak, they can't vote in Red Oak, they don't have an effect. Your vote's not the only way. Again, I need those people to get in touch with me and get involved. We talk about how we love the kids. We complain about our crowded classrooms. I need the staff. I need my staff members to get involved with me. And lastly, Ms. Story and all the board. Again, personal invitation. We're shooting archery tomorrow. I would love for you to come to my classroom anytime, but tomorrow will be great. Archery is great for people of all shapes, sizes, ages, genders, and archery is amazing. So come see us. Thank you.
Rob Waller.
Good evening. My name is, sorry. That was a little intense, wasn't it? Good evening. My name is Rob Waller, and I have the privilege and honor of being the principal at Red Oak Middle School. This evening, I come to you as an advocate of the 172 faculty and staff that call Red Oak Middle School their home away from home, and the 1,550 students and their families. Here's what I need you to know about each and every one of our staff. They chose Red Oak ISD. There are many options to work in education in Ellis and Dallas County, and they chose us. Why did they choose us? There are multiple reasons, but here are a few. They want to work and give back in the community that they live in. They have heard or experienced it's a great place to work. They love the family atmosphere. The community of Red Oak has always backed their schools. I am sure there are many more reasons that I am missing, but those are just a few. Over the last several bond cycles, I've had multiple conversations with multiple staff that have told me, I love Red Oak ISD, and I don't want to leave. If a bond passes and I know there's relief of the overcrowding on the horizon, I will stay. But if there is no relief in sight, then I will start looking. The bottom line is that at this time, many of our staff do not believe the community of Red Oak is choosing them. Calling a bond is the easy part. The hard part is the community deciding and showing that they choose our staff, our faculty, our students, and our parents. Thank you for your time.
Chuck Harris.
I just re-urge to the board to call for the bond, and then more importantly, not just call for the bond, but everybody to get behind it, and all the people that are here and everybody to watch and to know the pain that everybody's been expressing because we don't have a new school and we haven't been able to pass a bond, and to go vote and bring a bunch of people with you to vote that are both from our district and not out just to destroy us, but are actually out to look out for our kids and our future. Thank you.
Lacey Nichols. Donnie Lutrick.
Good evening. Just a few thoughts after sitting here for a couple of hours or so, and I'm impressed with how many of y'all stayed on the stage and didn't go to the restroom. Things I've thought about here, things we've heard in the last year. Make it only a middle school. Check, we did that. We need to see the designs. We need to know what we're getting. Check, we did that. Move it to the next May. That would be better than having it in November. Well, we went ahead and did it in November. Now we're doing it in May one way or the other, but now we don't want to do that. Echo what Jimmy Lamb said earlier, if not now, when? I don't think it's a smart idea to delay. I think we need to keep momentum going. On a broader sense of this, I feel like that so much of the national and state politics have found their way into our little district. I'm amazed at how much I hear from people who are concerned about CRT, or I sit out and listen to someone on election day say they're taking our kids to get abortions from the high school. Do we have books? Questions like that are interesting. I even read on social media last year when someone was saying, you know, we can have these bonds, but it won't change these students, which is a concern of mine. We really have to stop and think about why we are for and against these things, and not simply just go with the typical political rhetoric that we hear. This is about students that they're not the future, they're the present, because we have them right now. So let's not think about just simply down the road. We have to do something now.
Marisol Allen, Sam Allen.
I think they spoke earlier.
Susie Mendoza.
Hello, everybody. I was not going to speak because there's been a lot said today. But I'm moved today, almost to tears. I have no children in this district, and I never will. I have 6 grown children. My youngest daughter just turned 31. I'm concerned for Braden, who lives across the street from me. I'm concerned for Ethan, who lives next door. I'm concerned for Damien's kids who live a couple of doors down. He's got a lot of kids. I'm concerned for them because we can't seem to pull it together as a community to let them know that they are more important than a dollar bill, that they are more important than a football game or someone's Grammy performance. We can't seem to pull together what we worship on Sunday with our actions Monday through Saturday as a whole. I'm a Christian, but it's not because I go to church. Just like when I stand in my garage, I'm not a car. But I'm a human who adores children, who looks at the wonder and amazement that they have, and I wonder why we can't pull it together and show that to them. Show them that as a community, we value them and what they can become, because we're so worried about some dollars.
Mike Mendoza.
The community's burning. It's burning down. We need to take action. We need to bring in the fire department. We need to all rally to help the community. No, it's not. It's not burning. Don't listen to those people that are saying that. We could wait 3 months. We could wait 6 months. It'll be fine. Don't worry about the community. No, it's burning. But the misinformation that comes out of the people that want to wait appalls me. And I look at that and I say, either you're blind or you want us to believe this stuff and listen to some of the hypocritical things that were said by a certain person who has decided to personally attack me on social media and say that that's not how they operate. Makes me sick. But I'll tell you this, the one lesson I learned since the first attempt and the second attempt, and the lesson I learned today, is we don't need brochures to reach out to people because they throw the brochures away. We need to find a strategy, and I do agree, we need to find a strategy that we are going to reach out to the people that didn't vote, not the people that did. There is no way we're going to convince the no voters, no matter what goes on, to change their mind. They don't even need to be addressed. They need to be ignored. Just as those would say that the community isn't burning. You need to ignore those people and move forward. And I think that we have a strategy in place. We're starting to come to an understanding that yes, we can get to those people that didn't vote. And we can reaffirm those that did vote. It wasn't that big of a margin. It just, we didn't get the right people to the ballot box. And I believe we can do it. So I say move forward. And let's do this thing.
Jonathan Burke. To go? Burke? Jonathan Burke? He's outside on the house. Shelley Brown?
One more time, I'm a Red Oak graduate, homeowner, and a parent to 2 first graders. It's not just about my 2, it's about the 250 homes, families currently in my subdivision. It's about the 250 additional homes being built in that same subdivision. It's about the 500 plus in the school that they go to, and it's about the community that they are growing up in. Please call for a bond and support it. The quality of our school district and its decisions directly affect the quality of our community.
Megan Galbraith. Kirby Pierce. Asa Lowe. with all kids? Daniela Martinez, one of the students? And Gabriela Martinez? Okay. That is all for open forum. We're going to adjourn into closed session. We have the action item. Is there something you wanted to present on that?
Dr.
You had something different to present?
Yes, he's got the recommendation.
Okay, go ahead. It's a consideration and approval of adoption of order calling the bond election on May 6, 2023.
Administration recommends that the school board approve putting the bond election on the May 6th ballot so the voters can decide.
Is there any discussion? Actually, do we have a motion first?
I move that we approve an adoption of an order calling for a bond election on May 6, 2023.
Do we have a second? We have a motion by Ms. Peterson, a second by Ms. Porter. Is there any discussion, anything you want to talk about before we take the vote? Or any comments you want to make?
I just want to say thank you to everyone that has spoken tonight. You know, no matter what side of the fence you're on. You've taken the initiative, you've taken your time, you come out and you had your voice heard. It's not an easy decision because we are looking at a lot of money. But we also got to look at what the future holds. You know, so it's your right and it's your duty to me to vote. So please do so, but understand that we are a growing community. Very much so. You look around, like I said, I've been here since there was 500-something people. And now you look at it. You look at the growth. Just like Pecan Hill, they're talking about 1,200 homes. You look at the apartments that are going in. You look at all the homes that have gone in. That used to be cornfields or cotton. Those are no longer fields. They're filled with homes. And it's continuing to grow. So we have to take the initiative to understand that this community is not going to stop growing. We have to be prepared, and we have to think, and we have to do the right things. Tough decisions, yes. Does everybody like them? No. But we try to do what is best for this community, best for our children, our teachers, our staff, our admin. That's the ones we're here to support. Our community, our parents. The parents we want to be proud of, this district. We want to see our students be proud of the districts. It's all about here. What we do, how we move forward, what we accomplish, or what we don't accomplish. That's going to affect the future of this area. And it's going to continue to grow and grow and grow. From where I live, we were country. That's no longer the case. The city has moved to us. And it's going to continue to grow that way. All the fields that are by me, I've already heard about infrastructure. I've already heard the growth that we're going to see in our area. All of it's been west or north and some south. Not so much east as far as my direction back toward Pecan Hill. But now guess what? It's coming. And guess where those kids are going to go to school? Here. So we got to be prepared. We got to meet a demand. And how we do that is up to each individual voter. You either vote for it or you don't. That's your right. The main thing is vote. Thank you.
I just want to reiterate that I've struggled the last week. I have to say I've struggled because I know what we need. I know what we need, but how much are we going to work to get what we need? And, you know, I have to look at Penny and say, you know, if I offended you, I'm really sorry because I'm a Christian. And I heard Ms. Mendoza just a few minutes ago, and I was like, you know what? That's what this, if we do put it for a election, we have to be like Christians and not get on social media and start bashing everybody else, because that's what's happened the last couple of times. I've been guilty of saying things, and I'm going to stand up for my town, but I have to keep putting back into my mind that I am a Christian. I don't hate anybody. I don't hate the no people. I don't hate everybody's got to come together. But we have to get together, and we have to get out there, and we have to vote. And we have to not bash the no group or the yes group, whichever way you're going to go. Just accept it that everybody has their right, and so everybody needs to do. But everybody needs to speak the truth at all times. The truth. And I don't like being called a liar, and I've been called a liar many times lately. You got anything?
Mickey? Anything? You good? Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second, and again, this is just putting it on the ballot. We can't vote the bond. If we could vote the bond, we wouldn't be having these meetings, right? We wouldn't need to talk to anybody. Take it to the community, and if you look at the community, it's not just Red Oak, it's not just Ovilla, it's not just Glen Heights, it's Pecan Hill, a little bit of Waxahachie, a little Ferris. You know, Red Oak is a melting pot of a lot of different communities. We have to work together. That's one thing that, you know, that I've heard tonight where we've gone sideways is on our community. You know, we're trying to look out for our own little sections, and we're no longer Red Oak ISD. Yeah, sure, it's Red Oak. You live in Ovilla, but we go by Red Oak. Okay, we don't get to use Ovilla. You know, build a school in Ovilla, you can maybe put Ovilla in your school, but we have to get back to community. You know, I've lived in Red Oak since 1972. Melanie's been here since 1972. Johnny's been here for a long time. Donna's been here for a long time. So, you know, we know what it's like to live in a community and work in a community and go to school in a community where the community cares about the kids, community loves on the kids. And I'm not saying if you vote no that you don't love the kids. I've never said that. You know, you have your opinions. Yes has their opinions. You know, you fall in three buckets. You're either against it, you're trying to decide, or you're all for it, right? You need to figure out where you're at and then make your own decision. If you have a question, I suggest come talk to Ms. Sanford. Don't get on social media. Don't get on Facebook. This is where the information comes from. That's where we get off track. Again, we have a motion by Ms. Peterson, second by Ms. Porter. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign?
I'm going to abstain from voting because no matter what I do,
She can abstain.
Yeah, I'm going to abstain from voting, so we can talk, y'all can talk about that next. And I'll do what I'm going to do, just like I did before, and it may be yes and it may be no. But I need to get all the information, so didn't have it before. So I'm abstaining.
You don't have the information to put it on the ballot?
Well, didn't we vote for that last time?
Yeah.
Okay, and I said, yeah, I'm not going to vote. I'm going to abstain.
All right. Vote passes 5-0 and 1 abstention.
That's right.
At this time, we're going to convene in the closed session. The time is 10:37.